Welcome to the January 2nd Town Board meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Ozzy, can we, one moment for New Orleans?
I apologize. We need a moment of silence for President Carter and the tragedy in New Orleans. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Councilmember Bardini?
Not yet. He's going to swear in first.
Soon.
Change the
Yes. Jackie, we've had a vacant town board for last year. We had a vacant town board for last vacant town board seat for last year. It was only 4 members. She won the 1-year election to be placed on the board and was sworn in. Just repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
Solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
of Town Councilwoman
of Town Councilwoman
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Councilmember Bardini?
President,
Councilmember Totino?
Present.
Councilmember Foreman?
Here.
Councilmember Rye?
Here.
Supervisor Albro?
Here. I got a couple amendments to the agenda. Let's see, I want to change the reduction in force, resolution number 10. I want to change the detective sergeant salary from $35K a year to $42.03. Per hour. I want to close resolution number 9. I want to amend consent resolution number 30 for Amanda Black. Her salary was $21. It's supposed to be $21.84. There's one item for special consideration for legislative aid. And I would like to move items 1, 2, 3 in the regular resolution for the police officers to right before discussions. I'll make that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
aye.
Okay. Next up is the acceptance of minutes. We don't have any. Introduction of new employees. So what I'd like to do is introduce our new town historian. So once you go up to the podium and explain to the residents who you are and why you like the position.
I don't think I need the podium.
You got to look at us.
The people in the town watching
All
do.
right, okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm used to teaching, so I'm used to everybody being on their phones. But for this, I want to thank Ozzy for thinking of me in this post. I find it an honor to be able to educate people about history, especially the history of this area. So I will do everything in my power to really bring on the history or the education of the history of this place, and especially the 250th anniversaries of the American Revolution. So I'm dressed as a colonel of the 5th New York Regiment, which actually passed through here, and this was one of the most important places in the American Revolution. So I hope that in the coming years, we can celebrate this together and we can educate everyone about the importance of Fishkill. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
I want to give to the board, this is a pamphlet of all the important events of the American Revolution
Thank you, sir.
in the Hudson Valley, because we're going to start with educating the board and everybody we possibly can. So thank you again.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we got a position, a vacancy for Detective Sergeant. Mr. Murtaugh, would you like to come to the mic and explain who you are to the citizens of Fishkill?
I'm sorry, and
Just give a little description of who you are and why you want the position.
I am currently serving as a sergeant in the Town of Fishkill Police Department. I started my law enforcement career back in 1999, being sworn in originally in the NYPD. I then transferred to the City of Mount Vernon Police Department, where I worked for 8 years, serving in many roles from street crime to narcotics to ESU. I then transferred to the village of Tarrytown, where I finished my career as the officer in charge of the midnight shift, and just prior to retirement, came up here and started my career here in the town of Fishkill, where I've served as both a patrolman and a sergeant, and then acting detective sergeant for the last 4 months.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Clark, Lieutenant Clark, you're up tonight for police chief. So say hello to the residents of Fishkill, and you'd like to elaborate on your caseload and your homicide record down in Mount Vernon, please.
Okay, good evening. Joseph Clark. I've been a police officer since January of 1989. I've served in the City of Mount Vernon Police Department from then until August of 2011 in various units. Started out as a patrolman, worked street crime, worked narcotics. After that, I was promoted to sergeant in 1999, where I served as a patrol sergeant, and I ran the field training squad. I was then assigned to basically a conditions unit, where if there were problems in a certain area, my unit and I would go in and try and resolve the problems. From there, I was in charge of street crime, then narcotics, then moved on to the Detective Bureau, where I supervised 46 detectives, general investigation, gang squad, youth squad, and the major case squad. During my time supervising the major case squad, roughly 32 homicides that we handled during that time, with 23 of them being cleared by multiple arrests. I joined the Town of Fishkill Police Department in May of 2013, served as a patrolman there, promoted to sergeant the year later, and detective sergeant in 2016, where I served for the last 8 years up until July 20th, where I took over as the officer in charge of the department and promoted in October to the rank of lieutenant.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilbert, you're up for the position of legislative aide. Share your thoughts with the citizens of Fishkill why you want the job.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Gilbert, and I want to thank you for consideration for this legislative role. For a brief background about myself, I'm a graduate of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, majoring in chemical engineering with 2 minors, economics and management. Then I attained my MBA from Northeastern University and been gaining experience ever since. This includes working in the aftermarket division of United Technology Corporation, Aerospace Systems, and in retail organizations such as WanderFlowers.com as a marketing and analytics coordinator, and even in the local community as both a deli slicer and a construction road crew flagger.
All right.
I really appreciate you taking the time to take me into consideration for this role, and I want to wish everyone a happy New Year's.
Thank you, sir. Is anybody else up for a job today? All right. Let's see, so liaison member reports. Ms. Bardini, usually we do the liaison. You got anything to say?
Just thank you all for giving me this opportunity to serve the community. I promise to always do the thing that's right for us as a town. I also want you to know that I am open to anything you have to say. Please feel free to shoot me emails or call and leave messages in the town. I promise to get back to you and, investigate or, take care of any business that you think I can help you with. Again, thank you.
Greg?
Just wanted to say that I hope everyone had a very happy and healthy holiday season and a happy new year to everyone.
John?
Pass.
Brian?
Yes, Ozzy, you and I attended the highway holiday party, and you guys got to go by and see the garage. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. The food was magnificent. I also attended the rec center holiday party for all the little kiddies. That was a lot of fun. And roundabout Christmas breakfast. And yes, I talked with Santa. I have no shame. And then this Monday, I had asked for, when we had that traffic meeting at Highway on a Saturday, I mentioned that I was thinking how it is that the Village of Fishkill PD and Town of Fishkill PD can work together. Have we ever worked together and done anything to target traffic? And so Lieutenant Clark and Police Commissioner Glenn Schofield met with me on Monday, and we went over quite a number of things. But of course, the ongoing saga is a shortage of personnel and strains on our system to do the daily work and coverage, which both departments do very, very well. But in future perfect world, there are possibilities for joint targeting on Merritt Boulevard, on 9, on 52, and a number of other areas, 52 in Jackson especially. So we look forward, we planted the seed, and we look forward to a potential following up. And that's it.
Okay. I have nothing to add, so before we get the officers sworn in, we'll do privilege of the floor for general town items. So this is the opportunity for the public to say what they want to say about the town of Fishkill. This is your opportunity. Councilwoman Daniele? Bless you.
You can smile tonight. Louise Daniele, legal resident of Fishkill for over 30 years. I can only see this here. I'd like to know, before I speak, if the cameraman was told not to turn the camera and show the board members when citizens are speaking. During the past few meetings, board members have made some faces and rolled their eyes, not only towards me, but towards others as well. Some in the past have even shooed residents away with their hands, but nobody at home sees that. I believe in transparency and that the people at home should be able to not only hear, but see what the board members' reactions are. So I'm requesting that the cameraman actually switch back and forth when needed for transparency. I was also wondering about the order of the agenda, because it's different the way that it was set up tonight, because the privilege of the floor usually is after liaison reports, so it seems like things were changed. So I was just wondering if that was for the whole year or not. Let's see. For discussion 2, discussion of resolution to appoint the Town of Fishkill Chief of Police. The discussion says Supervisor Albra has recommended the appointment of Lieutenant Joseph Clark to the position of Town of Fishkill Chief. The supervisor is also the one who chose Sergeant Clark to be the acting officer in charge. There was no process or interviews of candidates for the board to consider, just the supervisor's choice. Which is ironic, because when the supervisor told me when we first came on the board in 2020 that the police department runs itself. It appears to me, looking at this agenda tonight, that the supervisor wants to run the PD. I have nothing against Lieutenant Clark. I don't even know him really. I'm only concerned with the lack of process and the actual failing to post the position and seeing what the other options are for the town. Discussion 3, it states Supervisor Albra has recommended the promotion of Jason Murtaugh to the position of Detective Sergeant. The question is, should the supervisor be involved in internal appointments? In my opinion, he should not. Discussion 16, changing the town code to repeal the police commission and establish a police commissioner position. When was there a board discussion of changing this local law and paying the attorney to create a new version? Or did the supervisor just decide to do that as well? The version of the new code states it will provide civilian oversight over the PD. There are changes from the version the supervisor put forth in 2020 when I was on the board. Back then he stated he needed to depoliticize a lot of activity in the PD. I don't think creating a police commissioner now will do that. In my opinion, it will do the opposite. He also stated in 2020, officers have direct phone numbers to all of us here. A police commissioner would strengthen the chain of command. I think this new version, if enacted, would do the opposite. It also makes the police commissioner the chief administrative officer of the police department, with primary responsibilities for basically everything of the operation of the PD, internal and external. However, the bigger change is the employees shall continue to report to the chief, but the chief will now report to the police commissioner, who in turn shall report to the town board. So the chief, in my opinion, appears to be turning into a sidekick. If enacted, the police commissioner will have no police powers. It is a civilian position, so that means no gun. It should also mean no vehicle, since it's administrative, but it doesn't state if a car is assigned. Will there be a badge? The police commission currently does not have badges. It doesn't state if it's part-time or full-time, and if there will be a salary. I thought there was a new law that said police commissioners had to be unpaid, so is this new version of the code legal? In addition, you have current board members who contact members of the police department on a regular basis. That should stop completely if there really is a police commissioner. If it doesn't stop, this just adds more unnecessary layers of government to the PD. Next, I would like to know, where can applicants send their resumes for the police commissioner position? It states that you have to be a town resident. I am a town resident of the town of Fishkill for over 30 years. It states that you shall not be an active law enforcement officer. I am not. I retired in 2012 after 20 years of service from the New York State Police as a trooper, sergeant, and station commander of SP Wappinger, which would make me qualified, as I actually have done all of the tasks listed for the Chief Administrative Officer position of Police Commissioner. I also have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and have served on the town board for 4 years, as well as a member of the Town of Fishkill Police Commission for 4 years. In 2020, Councilmember Ori Brockfeld suggested I be the police commissioner. I said I would do it with no extra pay, and the supervisor said, nope, not gonna happen. So I am again offering to be considered for the position. I would not ask for a salary. It would be community service for me, because I care about our community and making sure our police department is managed properly. And an added bonus to the addition that I'm qualified and a great choice would be that I'd be the first female Town of Fishkill Police Commissioner. So just let me know where to send my resume if you actually plan on creating the position. On to a different topic. Where is the money coming from to pay the police officers their back pay from the PBA contract? It wasn't budgeted. And it was also never explained by the comptroller where the money for the highway contract was coming from either. Where will the money for the proposed police commissioner come from if one is created? Removing 2 lieutenant titles does not save money. The people are still there in just different positions. 1 lieutenant position was created for Sergeant Clark to act as the acting officer in charge. If he is appointed to chief, that would eliminate 1 title, but not 1 body and pay. I'm not sure who the other lieutenant will be, who will no longer be a lieutenant, but I presume they will be given an opportunity to remain being a sergeant or a police officer. So either way, they both will still be paid $35,000 by the taxpayers, but you're just removing 2 lieutenant titles. That doesn't create savings. Also, where is the $6,000 increased amount for employees who don't take health benefits coming from? That wasn't budgeted. Can the comptroller please detail all the money transfers that will be necessary to cover all of these costs, including the cost to prep the base of the $100,000 monument of John Bailey, which I still feel should not be built with taxpayer money. I'm concerned with all of the budget changes that we aren't seeing, and what the final budget amendments will look like, since we haven't seen anything in writing. I also hope the back of the plaque pictured in the agenda packet for John Bailey's monument is corrected. In the packet, there is a picture of a plaque dedicating the PD to the former Chief Williams. I also don't see CPL engine on the agenda, so I was just wondering if they were going to continue to be used, and if they were going to be replaced, who would be our new planner for the planning board. Lastly, I think that the town board should do the right thing and follow process. Post positions and interview candidates for positions in our police department who aren't just your friends. Because when you don't, you make our entire town look bad. If you think the PD needs oversight, conduct a statewide search for a new chief who is not politically connected to anyone at all. We do not need a police commissioner, and we do not need a paid liaison. You need someone in charge who will create rules and then make sure the officers actually follow them, as well as ensuring the safety of our community and those who travel through our town who may need police assistance. You need a leader, a police chief that is experienced and trusted by officers and the board, and when you find that person, the rest will follow. What you suggested tonight will not reform the PD and make it better. It may potentially make it worse. I have read certain news articles recently complaining about alleged Democratic political paybacks. In my opinion, the Republicans do that as well. Not only at the town level, but it's worse to see at the county level. When a Republican senator lost in 2022, Republicans created a job for her at the Office of the Aging. When a Republican When a Republican senator lost in 2022, Republicans created a job for her at the Office of the Aging. When a Republican legislator lost his race, Republicans appointed him to be our county comptroller at $100,000 a year with no accounting experience. Then he runs for that position and loses. And what do the Republicans do? They appoint him to a higher position as Deputy Assistant County Executive at over $125,000 a year. And he won't have to worry about running again because that position is not elected, but it does have a state pension. So whether one party continues to give losers higher paying positions, which in my opinion is political paybacks, or others try at the local level to give friends an unnecessary paid job or create unnecessary positions in the PD or appoint friends to positions without following any proper process, they are all wrong and should not happen. That's why being a politician shouldn't be a career, it should be a public service. I hope our town and county New Year's resolution will be to hire people and run candidates who are actually qualified and competent instead of what's being done on both sides of the aisle, and should not continue as it affects all of us legal tax-paying town residents. Thank you and Happy New Year to everyone, and I want to say welcome back to Council Member Bardini. It's nice to see you again and good luck. Thank you.
Anybody else? Marie? Marie first.
Good evening, Marie Campanaro. I agree with Ms. Daniele. A police commissioner is not warranted. We are a part-time police force. We have a town of approximately 23,000 people. I was against a police commissioner the first time around, and again, okay? If anything for new positions, they should be posted for transparency, for everybody to apply who feels that they qualify for the positions. Thank you and Happy New Year. Welcome
New
back,
Year,
Ms.
ma'am.
Bardini.
Happy New Year. Ms. Gaston? No.
Teresa?
Teresa? Ms. Kraft?
Teresa Kraft, Happy New Year. I did say I was looking for a job. Maybe I should get into politics. That girl, what a resume, and she would not need training wheels. I would like to thank this board for listening to the residents who asked for your help in getting an extension for the Fjords Trail public hearing. Even the surrounding area residents, not in your own municipality, are grateful. Thank you, even when ours didn't listen. And kudos for bringing a real town historian. And let's also remember, history is not just a plaque or a sign or a QR code. Let's remember it's also about saving historic buildings, sites, and locations with historic view sheds and unknown burial grounds and artifacts. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gatson?
Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome back, Jackie. It's good to see your face up there. And I am confident that you are going to show girl power. And I'm excited. I'm just here this evening because I just want to know who Skip is. There was a lot of negativity on social media that caused my phone to ring beyond itself. I left the job where I was on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. My phone rang 24 hours, 7 days a week. Has not done that since I left that job in June. But I'm going to tell you that this weekend, my phone was on fire. Some of our newly possibly appointed tonight leaders are being dragged through the mill. And I know that rumors are rumors, and without facts, you really can't do anything. But some of those things I know, as I served on this board, to be true. And some of them are meshed with, I don't know, mishmash, right? So there's no validity to some of them. But I'm going to say that there's some power behind a lot of it. When it comes to communities, targeting, I'm going to say me, like I was called out, like Kenya Gadsden, come forward and talk about, the racist cops. And I don't really know who the racist cops are, but I do know that whether you're black, brown, or indifferent, if you see racism, right, if you see things that are wrong, you must say something, you must address it. So it doesn't take a person of color, to address a racist act. But I am going to say that I am concerned that people are calling at alarming rates. They're disguising themselves or they're coming forward. But if Skip is here, or if he is watching or she is watching, please come forward, because the information that they shared appears to have access to some valid information. And then some of it, again, is questionable. And so as the leaders here, I know that you cannot go into things just because people say them. But I will say that the leaders that you are about to appoint in the police department were targeted at a high rate. One of the officers, I know my child worked underneath him, with him, alongside him, and I was offended by some of the things that were said about that person. And so, you know, you can't fight the sky. So I come here tonight to say that maybe we should all plea for Skip, SKIP, to come forward and share what you know so that the board could take an honest look at all the things that they need to look at, or maybe they just need to disregard it. So I thank you for your time.
Anybody
Skip,
else?
I'm looking for you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna close that out.
One more.
Oh,
Mr. Cologne. No, Mrs. Cologne.
Good evening. My name is Diane Mochkovitz. I've been watching the previous meetings from home. I had an issue with my back and back surgery. I'm a little, how do I put this? A little concerned when it comes to the talk about a police commissioner and a liaison, because I stood here after Chief Dorkin was no longer here. And it seemed like coming up to Chief Dorkin's departure, there was an issue where certain people on the board could not speak to Chief Dorkin. There were other people that had no problem speaking with Chief Dorkin. Now there's a new chief, and if there's a new chief, there should be communication. But now it seems like we want to throw a liaison in there, or we want to change the town and now have a police commissioner again, which was already pushed away once, but we want to put another person in. And I being like a resident and a community member, I just wonder, why is it that if there's a police chief who is supposed to be running the police department and communicating with the town board, why is there a need for either a liaison at a salary of, I believe, $2,000 a month with 20 hours, but it's not specified whether you're paid by the hour or you're not paid by the hour?
That's not gonna happen. We struck that in the
Oh,
beginning.
now that's not gonna happen, okay.
That resolution's been
Okay,
voided.
so now it then brings in a police commissioner. Now, police commissioner, from what I know about towns, if you're putting a police commissioner in place, that person is supposed to be doing that job without compensation. If it is one police commissioner, then I believe 2 board members have to also be involved as commissioners. Or am I missing something here? Or I just read a law that has no bearing on anything?
Mr. Gaba, can you?
Anybody?
When we do this, when we do the
Sure,
local
that's,
law,
it's very.
Anybody?
it's-
She's reading the town law, which does say that, but we're doing.
No, I'm
something else.
reading New York State law.
That's what I just said.
No, you said town law.
New York State Town Law, Section
So
155. That's
you
what
just
you're referring
said town law, not New York State law.
to. New York
Go
State
ahead.
Town Law, Section
Thank
155. Thank you, ma'am. Forget it, Mr. Gaba.
Is there an answer?
Yes, you're mistaken. The New York State town law says that a town may create a police commission. The police commission has to consist of at least 1 town board member. However, under the municipal home rule law, a town may create a police commissioner. Police commissioner is a position appointed by the town board. He oversees the police department to the extent that the town board wishes to allow him to. It is a paid position. It does not have to be, but it is a paid position because it's a contract position like any other contract the town enters into. There's no prohibition on paying police commissioners. I don't know where that's coming from.
Okay, so the New York State town law
Yes,
regarding police commissioners
yes, is
that
overruled.
I read
Right, is overruled by the municipal home rule law, which
is
allows,
overruled, so then you're creating another position, whereas instead of paying, let's say, you were originally starting out with a liaison that was at $2,000 a month, what would the salary be for a police commissioner? Do we have an answer? Am I asking a stupid question?
Oh, no, that's a very good question.
Yeah, so what we have in the town of Fishkill Police Department, we have a chief and 3 lieutenants. That's how it's set up. They usually make between 45 and 35. So we're going to eliminate 1 lieutenant, have a chief, a commissioner, and 2 lieutenants at the same price.
So you're eliminating police that would be out there policing to create a position of police commissioner so he could get paid $40-something thousand.
No.
No?
The commissioner can go out on patrol too. He can do the same thing as a lieutenant.
I thought the commissioner was not a police officer, as is written.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have, what's...
Oh, no, he's not allowed to be enacting police.
I think you could tell that to the New York City Police Commissioner, and if you said that...
I'm not talking to the New York City Police
you, ma'am.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Oh, see, there we go. So we'll just shut me down.
I'm not shutting you
and you're
down.
not going to give me an answer.
I'm not, this is privilege this is the privilege that you can ask any questions that you want if you...
And I asked a question. And
What
I
is your
asked a question, and you're trying to tell me that the police commissioner can then do police work after you just said that he would take the position of one of the other officers that you're going to eliminate to come up with the $40,000+ that he's going to be paid.
Yeah, there's 4 administrators, and that's going to be the setup. Chief, commissioner, 2 lieutenants. Same salary, same payments that we're doing right now.
It's not. So is there any reason, and I might be completely stupid in this, is there any reason why the police chief cannot interact with the board?
Who said that?
I'm just asking. Is there a reason?
Greg?
Does anybody on the board have a problem speaking to the new up-and-coming sworn-in police chief?
Ma'am, I appreciate the line of questioning, but I think that you're misunderstanding our intent with this.
No, I'm not misunderstanding anything.
No, you don't know if you're
we are not
misunderstanding or
involved.
not, because I haven't expressed my...
Okay, I'm sorry, Greg,
I haven't...
but you said...
It's all right. You haven't heard the perspective here. There is currently a police commission in the town of Fishkill. You're looking at it. That's the 5 of us sitting here. We have, as commissioners, the ability to interact with the chief as we see fit, as is necessary in the conduct of our responsibilities. But as you mentioned when you first got up here, under a prior police chief, it was impossible for certain members of the police commission to actually interact with that chief. That was certainly a problem if certain members of the town board, who are police commissioners, have access to a relationship where information can be freely exchanged, ideas can be shared, and business can be conducted, but others are excluded from that process. We do not wish for that possibility to ever exist again in the future. So by creating a commissioner who acts specifically as a go-between between the department and the board, there will not be an opportunity for the police chief to ignore one town board member but respond to others, because that information will all be channeled through a commissioner who that chief reports to directly. And secondly, there is a greater, I think, ethical question involved, which is that of political association. Everyone is entitled to conduct themselves, be involved in politics how they see fit, and I will support people's rights to do so. And in a recent town board race here, we had members of this body who sought and received the endorsement of our local PBA. That's fantastic. They should be able to do that. And members of our PBA should be able to endorse whoever their collective opinion is will best serve their interests on the town board. The issue, however, is if those politicians who end up becoming town board members then serve as the police commission and are responsible for overseeing the department in terms of matters pertaining to discipline, for instance, that creates an inherent conflict of interest. And the residents of the town need to be able to trust that the individual in charge of discipline, namely the police commissioner, who will trigger investigations and oversee those investigations pertaining to disciplinary matters, don't have any possible conflict of interest based on whether or not a particular member of the police department supported them in the last election. So the residents need to know that the system in place at the police department is one that they can trust. And if they're looking at a dysfunctional relationship between some members of a town board which consists of politicians and a police chief who's willing to work with some but not with others, it's going to erode the public trust, both in the police department and in their leaders on the town board level. So a police commissioner that takes that authority away from us, which is what we're doing. We're stripping ourselves of authority by doing this. We are instilling it in someone else so that we can never abuse that power. We can never earn public distrust. And no chief of police now or in the future can ignore their commissioner, as has been happened in the past.
And so all of you sitting there that have been elected to serve this community, what you're saying is that, and you particularly keep going back to this political party scenario.
I never mentioned political parties. If you go back, you will notice I never made reference to a political party.
No, you're saying certain members on the board.
Yes, individuals.
And you know
I'm
what?
not referring to a political party.
Excuse me, but if you are all adults and you are sitting there supposed to be doing the best for the community, I don't foresee that, and I would venture to guess if I took 20 people from my development right now and asked them if they thought that the town of Fishkill needed a $40-something-thousand position as police commissioner because the members of the board can't go back and forth between the police chief and come up with a reasonable solution, they would be like, this is ridiculous.
Hey, Diane.
Yes?
Not meaning to interrupt you, but just...
No, you can, it's okay.
Okay. I know that this is supposed to be a discussion item, and so I'm not going to take a lot of time to go into it, but suffice it to say, there's a lot that you said that I agree with. There's a lot that Ms. Daniele said that I agree with. And I think that this is something I don't agree with, and I have never heard of this at all, until this agenda packet was printed, and it's being presented as if we're all for it, and we're not all for it.
Again, it just seems like if you all can't do what's best for the community and work in conjunction as a whole, I mean, nobody expects everybody to get along. But reading the wording that's going into this police commissioner job, you're basically giving that one person all of the power, more power than the chief has. No? You sit there and you shake your head no.
The chief of police is in charge of the police department. The commissioner will work as a go-between between the town board and the chief, period.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so that whole, I don't know how many pages of information on the duties and the responsibilities and all of that of the police commissioner, I guess I must have just been, it must just have been like a comic strip or something I was reading. Because according to that, and when I look at that and I read that as a citizen, that's just ridiculous. You're giving that one person all the power. And you are the one that is allowed to pick that person. And going back to what Ms. Daniele said, that why is that not something then that is open to other people? How many people are going to be allowed to apply for this position?
The supervisor is not alone in naming that individual. That would need to be a board majority vote. The supervisor can't appoint that person unilaterally.
Is that open to the public?
There is no resolution whatsoever or any individual put forward who the town is at this point attempting to hire. We can discuss the application process, and I'm sure that will be
Well, maybe
made
that's
public,
where you
but
should start if that in fact is what you're going to do.
we can't yet advertise for a position that doesn't exist. Technically, we are still the police commission and will remain so until this law is introduced, goes through the public hearing process, is amended or not amended, and then adopted. And it won't be until that time that we'd be able to advertise or go through the process of a job search for that. So your question, there will be an answer to that, but we're taking this in steps.
Is why would you need to create a $40,000 job when you should be able to just turn around as adults? And I'll go back to something that my son was told years ago as a child. You know what? You don't have to like each other, but you have to respect each other.
I completely agree.
And you should all be there to be there for the best for the community, not for your own self-serving BS,
Well,
okay?
Ma'am,
Thank you.
I agree completely with you that we should all be
Really?
able to do that. That
Yeah,
was
you
my
should
hope.
be. That's
That
right.
had been my hope
And
when
you
I...
should all be able to deal with the new chief, not have to create some go-between that has all the power, because when push comes to shove, you know what, that's what you're doing. You're saying, okay, let's take away a position from an actual police officer on the job to give it to somebody who cannot be an active police officer, and we'll just pay him $40,000 to sit there and be our little go-between, and he'll serve you, because at the end of the day, it's all at the pleasure of the board, isn't it?
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Next up is we're going to have resolutions 1, 2, and 3. The first one will be the resolution authorizing this.
No, we amended the agenda to
Go
do
right to
those 3 resolutions of 1, 2, and 3, to do them before the discussions. So our officers don't need to sit here all night.
Yep. So I'll read the first one, the resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute the memorandum of understanding between the town and Fishkill PBA in final form, resolution ID 9751, whereas the town of Fishkill and the town of Fishkill Police Fraternity, Inc., PBA, and parties to the memorandum of agreement, MOA, and whereas pursuant to memorandum of agreement executed by the parties in June of 2024, new MOA terms were agreed to for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2027. Now therefore be resolved by the town board as follows. Section 1, the above whereas paragraphs incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the MOA between the town and the Fishkill Police Fraternity in the form presented to the town board. Section 3, the town supervisor and any official, employee, or consultant as directed by the town supervisor is hereby authorized to take any and all actions necessary to carry out the provisions of this resolution and to give effect to the terms of the MOA. Section 4, this resolution shall be effective immediately. Before I ask for a motion, anybody want to say anything?
Yes.
Councilman Rye?
The reason why we're voting on this again is because it was voted down, not voted down, just wasn't passed, it was 2-2. So, and I just have to contrast this PBA negotiation with the Highway Department negotiation. We had Carmine Itzvan and Julie Shaw, the town's labor attorney, very engaged, very involved with each other, so it was a give and take situation. And we also had the highway superintendent brief us to keep us up to date as it was going along. So when we came to voting, we knew what was up, okay? So the surprise, like all these things tonight, complete surprise, here you go, vote on it, have 5 minutes of discussion and then vote. Well, the PBA came up and contract came up and we weren't apprised, we weren't involved, we didn't know anything, and the labor attorney was not allowed to participate. And the labor attorney, at the last minute, once she found that, was given the document, even though multiple times, and I have her email, so right here, but anybody needs to have it as reference, but she tried many times over several months to be involved. And I don't understand why she was prevented from being involved. In her wording, were there a number of things of great concern. So we encouraged Ozzy, and you know this is a fact, Ozzy, to have a discussion with her, and multiple times I asked that, and it never occurred, and this months and months and months went by, and a couple of tweaks could have been easily made, and et cetera, et cetera. So do I still have those concerns? They still exist, I do. I have those concerns, I do. But in this particular case, I'm going to vote in the positive for this thing, and I do it under protest because it's not the way to do business, and I'm very bothered by that whole process. I mean, you've got, how many, 4-year contract, and we're given a review at the last minute, like this other stuff tonight. It's just in an organization where there's some meaningful things that are coming up for a vote. You know, every organization that I've been in, you know, you need to get buy-in, so you need to have conversations. And I just don't understand these processes here. That's all I'm going to say.
Councilman?
This contract was negotiated by Supervisor Albra. He is neither an attorney, nor does he have any experience negotiating a labor contract. Ozzie did not include Chief Dworkin into any of his negotiations, nor did he include the labor attorney in any of their negotiations. This contract is a great contract for the police department, and it's a lousy contract for the town. And I'll tell you one more thing. We just went through a process of combining the highway department, buildings and grounds. They just went unionized. They'd been meeting for a year, okay? And Ozzie wouldn't dare not include management on the highway department and not include him, Carmine, in any of these negotiations. But yet, he went ahead and just went rogue and did what he needed to do with the police department. So, I'm voting for this contract. I just don't think it's a great contract for the town.
If it's not a good contract, you should vote no, like you did before. This is the same exact contract, Councilman Foreman, Councilman Ryan, that you voted against 6 months ago. If you vote for it today, you're going to look like a hypocrite. You can say this, you can say that, but here's the bottom line. I do have experience doing PBA contracts. This is my second one. The highway department, they just became union. It was a new process, okay? You guys act like the paint is not drying. The highway is totally different. There are different things for different things. And for the chief of police is not part of the PBA. Why would the chief of police be part of the PBA
Because they got to manage the department, Ozzie.
Well, you know, I didn't interrupt you.
Well, I'm answering your question.
I did not interrupt you.
I'm answering your question.
The chief of police is not a member of the PBA, period. It's a good contract, and if you think it's bad, you think it's a bad contract for the citizens of the town of Fishkill, then you should vote no. That's what you do. You're trying to have it both ways. You voted no for it before, it's the same exact contract, and for you to say here it's a bad contract, but you're going to vote for it.
I said it's a lousy contract.
I don't think it's a lousy contract. For you to vote against the PBA contract and then today going to vote for the same exact contract and then try to have your cake and eat it too, it's hypocritical of you, period. Councilman.
Yeah, I supported this proudly 6 months ago, and it came up for a vote. I will support it again tonight. I do just want to sort of correct a couple statements that I feel are either misguided or just factually wrong. The first is that our town labor attorney was repeatedly asked for input during the process of negotiating this contract. That input, unfortunately, due to some reasons which took place, did not come until after the agreement had already sort of been reached between the PBA leadership and the item had already been placed on the town board agenda. And the significant concerns which were referenced were given to the labor attorney by the then chief of police. The chief of police, as the supervisor said, is not a member of the PBA and does not play a role in the discussion there, as it is an agreement between the town board and the union. As the supervisor pointed out, it was an entirely different type of negotiation with the highway department, because this was not the renewal of a contract or the discussion of a few new terms or amendments. This was the creation of a union entity where none had existed previously. That's a lot more involved, a lot more moving parts, and so it was entirely appropriate that the highway superintendent, who I should add is an elected official as opposed to an appointed police chief, should be involved in that process, because that is what the residents of the town of Fishkill elected that individual to do. So I certainly understand and respect the concerns of my colleagues. But I would just like to say that the particular items which they had raised objection to in the past and which they've voiced their continued objection to tonight are pretty much standard operating procedure for a vast majority of law enforcement agencies across the country. And where the complaint tends to arise, and the language that I hear, in fact, I've heard it this evening at the podium, is that we have a part-time police department. No, we do not. We have a full-time police department staffed by part-time employees. Our police department never goes off shift. Our police department never has a blackout period where there are no services being provided. They are a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year law enforcement agency, operating at a very high level, given the challenges pertaining to manpower, training, and other logistics that come with being staffed entirely by part-time officers. We have difficulties with recruitment and retention that stem from these challenges. And the men and women of our police department are exceptional. They deserve an exceptional contract. And that's why I supported it before. It's why I will support it tonight, and why I welcome my fellow council members joining me in voting yes.
Well said. Councilman Bardini, I know you're new, but I remember that you came to the podium when this was going on, and you came up and you spoke on behalf of the PBA. I commend you for that.
Yeah, I've read a lot of contracts. I'm an attorney, and
Get closer to the mic.
I'm sorry. I've said that I have read quite a few contracts in my lifetime being an attorney, and I think that this is pretty fair on both sides. The fact that the labor attorney did not respond was what I understand happened. That's too bad, but it seems that nevertheless an agreement was come to. And again, I think it's very fair. I said that when I came to the podium 6 months ago, and I support it.
I'd like to just read one thing. From the labor attorney, I'm disheartened that you...
Excuse me, are we waiving privilege on that?
Yeah, if
No,
that's...
I asked her.
I'm not waiving, we're not voting for that.
It's not your privilege, it's the board's privilege.
We have to vote on that.
Vote on what?
You have to make a motion to waive privilege.
That's
To get a second, and then we
confidential, it's
vote on it.
privileged.
Well, I asked her if it was confidential. She said
That's not her privilege, it's our privilege.
All right. I'd like to read a sentence in the memo. I'd like to make a
Go on.
motion that we pass that I
Go
can
on.
read a sentence in the memo.
Well, does the board know what the sentence is?
What do you want me to do?
If you can pass it out to them, you can show them whatever it is, but you need to make a motion to waive privilege as to communication from council.
Okay. Can I waive privilege?
You have to get a second. You have to make a motion to waive privilege. Get a second.
Second.
Now you do a vote.
Well, but you need to know
What do you
Yeah.
want to
I-
waive?
It is about,
Just underline the passage.
and just pass it along.
Take 20 seconds.
I'm okay with it. Yeah. Because we got something for the labor attorney in executive session, and they better buck up and do a yes vote for that.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with
Yep, go on.
with that.
Well,
You want to play
need
games?
you
I got
need-
you. I got you in
need to
executive
vote.
session.
There was a motion and a second, you need to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Everyone, go on.
I am not playing games.
Yeah, you are.
I am not playing games. Do not characterize what I'm doing as playing games.
Councilman, read it.
This is a very serious matter.
Are you voting for
PBA
the, are you
contract.
voting for the PBA contract or not?
I've already said what I was going to
Then
do.
what are you wasting everybody's time for?
Well, Ozzy, I believe it might be a privilege of mine to have a discussion about this, so, excuse me.
Either
I'm
yes
sorry.
or no.
It is.
Are we going to go, are you doing principle now, or what? Can I just have a minute? Can we just discuss this and be civil with each other?
What I'm saying is, you're going to use the labor attorney as a reference in an executive session tonight. I have the labor attorney making a recommendation too. So if you're going to listen to her here, you better listen to her on this. That's all I'm
I'm going to,
saying.
absolutely. And I had a conversation with her today.
Go. You got the vote, 5-0, go.
Okay. So basically, we're talking about, she did not respond, et cetera. She asked, I'm disheartened that you did, this is to Ozzy, disheartened that you didn't think to consult me earlier in the process, one of the half a dozen times that I asked you about status of bargaining. That's it.
Okay.
She tried to be engaged.
You got
and
it.
she was not given the opportunity.
Roll call vote. I make a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
Aye.
Councilmember Totino?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rye?
Yes.
Supervisor Alborough?
Absolutely, yes. Next up is resolution to promote Jason Murtaugh to Detective Sergeant. Now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby promotes Jason Murtaugh to the position of Detective Sergeant of the Town of Fishkill. Be it further resolved, Jason Murtaugh will handle the day-to-day duties of the Detective Division at a rate of $42.03 an hour, and be it further resolved, the resolution shall take effect immediately. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Foreman, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next up, resolution to appoint Town of Fishkill Chief of Police, ID number 9764. Now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby appoints Joseph Clark to the position of Chief of Police and to serve at the pleasure of the Town Board, subject to approval by Dutchess County Human Resource Department, and be it further resolved, Joseph Clark will handle the day-to-day duties of the police department at a salary of $35,000 a year. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. I present it as a motion. Can I have a second?
Can I have a point of order?
Absolutely.
Discussion. We haven't discussed it.
No, you're right. Incorrect.
I mean, we're going to now vote on it. We haven't had a discussion.
Go on.
I just want to point out, and please don't characterize me as playing games, because you and I had multiple conversations about a new police chief.
Yes.
And it started off with, we were not going to appoint someone from within the department. And why did you and I agree on that, and what we would do in order to move forward with this police department? I don't want to go back in time and talk about the public display of not love between you and Dworkin. I don't want to go back in time and talk about all the many times I said, please take him into your office and be the executive and get over it and let's be in public. However, so all of that left, it was bad stuff. And you and I agreed that we would go outside of the department, that we would make sure we sidestepped any sort of politics, handpicking, just anything like that, and find someone that was fresh eyes, fresh ears, fresh ideas, and come in and work with our police department. And I asked you, what did you say? You had somebody in mind from the sheriff's department. Well, so I said, who was it over a multi period of time, and that person went away. That person was finally not available because they weren't retiring after all. And I said, Ozzy, how many times did I ask you to have our HR director cast the net, let's get some candidates in here, and you did not want to? And the last time I said that to you, you said, Clark is who you wanted, and I said, that's not what we agreed to, and that's just not an appropriate thing. There are a lot, and this is nothing against you, Mr. Clark, Lieutenant Clark. This is nothing against you, okay? Because you and I have conversations all the time, all right? And they're very professional, very cordial. This is something that we agreed to. This is something that would be better for the town to do, so we could cast the net and bring in a lot of candidates, et cetera. And we're not doing that, and it's very upsetting to me that you went back on this because we had this discussion, and I can't vote for this. This is inappropriate.
Would you like to say anything, John?
Yeah. So not only, those conversations, but Ozzy on several occasions publicly at these meetings had said that he wanted to go outside the department for a new chief. And I have no problem with Joe Clark, and I'll be voting for Joe Clark tonight. However, I would like to know what changed.
We and Mr. Clark have a great relationship, working in the police department and the town, and all the stuff that I ask him to do, he completes it in a quick, timely manner, exactly what I expect from a police chief. He's doing an excellent job as chief, and he deserves the position, period. Why would I spend 3-4 months looking for somebody when I got him right here?
Well, the blotter report.
He asked a question. I gave him the answer.
Blotter report online is still not up to date. It's in June. Arrest record online is still June. We don't get our, you know, and I'm just saying, you've got to, you know, you've got whatever burdens and everything else over there, but we asked, I'm sorry, I've got hypoglycemia, so I got to have a snack every once in a while. I apologize for chewing, just so you know. It's there. Joe Clark is a good guy, you know, and I've got nothing wrong with that, but there is, you know, people talk about favoritism in the police department. People talk about the politics in the police department and teams and this and that and groups. And this was an opportunity to walk away from that and get a fresh start with a new chief. And I'm extremely disappointed. I can't vote for it.
Greg?
Well, I agree that this is an opportunity to move past politics in the police department. And one thing that I found universally true is that every police officer who I've spoken to at the police department thinks very highly of Lieutenant Clark. Individuals who have left our police department in the past have come and spoken at our podium when we were putting him on the agenda in October for lieutenant, who said that we could not ask for a better man than Joe Clark. I certainly understand, you know, Brian, you know, you and the supervisor had a conversation. I wasn't part of that. And I can certainly understand if you are, you know, frustrated or hurt that, you know, the circumstances have changed from what you had understood them to be. But at the end of the day, I don't see how, with someone who's doing as good a job as Lieutenant Clark is doing, who is as widely and from my perspective, so universally respected by his officers as Lieutenant Clark is, I don't know how we can sit here and say that we'd rather cast the net outside of the town when we've got the right guy already doing the job, just doesn't have the title.
Here, here. Jackie?
I kind of feel the same way as Greg. I did meet with Lieutenant Clark, sorry. I have a bad cold, so I may be talking through the cough drop. But yes, he does have a lot of respect in the department. I think that we need somebody like that, and why go out looking for somebody at this point? There may come a point in time in the future that we will be looking for a new chief, and I would demand that we advertise that position. And when we make the, if the law goes through for the commissioner, I would demand that we also go outside the town and, you know, advertise for that position as well. I think some new blood into the police department is not a bad thing. But for now, I think Clark is highly qualified. I met with him and am satisfied that he can do the job.
Thank you. Just remember, Councilman Rye did not question his qualifications. He's very qualified to be the chief of police. His record during homicides is very, very good, and this is what we need in the town of Fishkill.
One more question.
Go on, man. Whatever you need.
It's for you, Lieutenant Clark. Much longer do you plan on staying with our police force? Is there a short horizon here? Are you retiring?
I can't answer that question honestly at this point. Do I have plans for my future? Yes, I do, but not immediate plans, no.
This year sometime?
Possibly, very possibly, yes.
Possibly, okay, and that's, you know, you put in a lot of time. Yes, you've got tons of experience, there's no doubt about it, but there is a chance that you may retire this year.
There is a chance, yes.
Okay, so, thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Perfect. So I'll make a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
Aye.
Councilmember Totino?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rye?
Nope.
Supervisor Alborough?
Yes. So what we'll do now is we're going to swear in the detective sergeant and the chief of police. They got to sign the book too, right?
Yes, but they can come to me another time for that.
Is everybody?
Yeah, I'll be on photo duty. Unless Cooper, you want to take pictures?
I don't know.
Congratulations.
Somebody read this and just repeat after me. do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Detective Sergeant
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Detective Sergeant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You guys will get it under the seal. That's the most important thing right there. This is your town. Put your whole family in there.
Greg, am I out here?
Come on.
No, we had to get a picture.
We'll do family first, and then... Excellent, you got it? Okay. Get me in here? Okay. Excellent.
You want to get ready for this?
Yeah, it's all right, we can do a group photo later with everyone.
I'll take a picture.
Yeah.
Can we get a group shot?
Yeah, that's what I said, one with the board.
Legislative day. It started a couple minutes early, will you?
How are you? Get in the picture.
In the picture?
Wouldn't be Fishkill if it wasn't. Wouldn't be Fishkill if it wasn't.
So Chief, looks pretty fancy, right?
I'm not chief yet.
All right, everybody smile. You gotta hang out here until you swear.
There we go.
All right. Congratulations. Thanks, I need one more. Famous.
Thank you, sir.
And I can do this.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Joe, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York.
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
And I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of chief
and I will faithfully discharge the office of chief
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my ability.
Chief, congratulations.
If you stand here, I'm going right on
Got a jail cell right across the...
the... You got a door right there. You can go with. Just a little bit.
Very good. Let's get a picture together, guys. Come on. Come on, board members. Come on. Okay. All right. Come on. One, two. It's a big deal. It happens like once every couple of years.
For your information, I kind of volunteer emergency planning. There's sometimes we get an opportunity to go to stop your lunch.
Okay.
So I want you to get one picture of the chief by himself. I'll leave the seal. Everybody else go.
Police department, that's in it.
I'm not sure the picture by himself.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
And then maybe one, just the two of them?
You got a class ready?
Yeah.
Make it Facebook profile.
All right.
Yeah, when he's finished signing, I'll grab one for the two of you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Chief, one with the detective sergeant?
We did this one on YouTube.
On YouTube? Oh, my.
Excellent.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But we did discuss that.
Which ones are dead? One, two, oh, I'm sorry. Consent.
I guess not.
I need to. Sorry. Right there, 1, 2, 3. 1 B, 1, 2.
Oh, okay.
Look at you. Okay, we're going to continue now. We already did the PBA contract, we already did the chief, we already did the detective sergeant. Next up is discussion of resolution to establish standard workday for employees. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, discussion of resolution to approve town clerk and tax receiver contracts for 2025. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next up, discussion to designate alternate delegate to the Association of Towns of the State of New York 2025 annual meeting. Who wants to do that?
I'll do it.
I've been one. Brian did it once too.
I think it should be Greg and Jackie.
Greg volunteered? It's Greg.
Sure.
All right.
Wait a minute, so this is a big deal for me. So
Greg.
what's my job now?
I will be the delegate with
Greg.
Councilmember Bardini as the alternate.
Okay.
Just means you have to go to a meeting Tuesday morning.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, we get to go home, you get to stay. Becky,
Sir,
may I ask you a question? As far as registration for this, is it coming through you?
I have never registered anybody but myself, ever.
Ask Olympia.
Olympia has done that for us.
Just go directly to it?
Yep.
Well, you were also given the registration form, the packet with the fax number, the email, the everything.
You can go right on the.
We can do that for ourselves.
Association of Towns and do it.
Thank you. Next up, number 7, discussion of resolution to authorize membership and dues for the Association of Towns. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 8, discussion of resolution to appoint energy suppliers based on the recommendation of the energy consultant. We good with that?
Yep.
Number 9, discussion of resolution to reappoint engineer consultant, Berger Engineering and Surveying as an alternate. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Number 10, discussion of resolution to reauthorize the renewal of 2025 general liability insurance. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Just to point out, we had a multi-million-dollar fire at the highway department. Our premiums have went up almost $90,000 because of that claim. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with in the budget, along with the police contract and the highway contract.
It was a $4 million loss.
It was a $4 million?
Yeah.
So how long does it stay on there, 9 years?
No, but definitely 5.
Definitely 5 years. So you're talking, the place needed a lot of work.
Yeah, it did.
It's going to end up costing us about $500,000 over the period.
Yeah.
But we're going to get $4 million out of it.
Yep.
All right. Next up, 11 is discussion to authorize dollar ride. Everybody okay with that? Number 12, discussion of resolution retaining litigation counsel in regard to the repurpose of downstate correctional facility. We hired a negotiator, a person to negotiate fire, and if it gets down to where we have to litigate, this would be the firm. Any questions with that?
You did a good job coming up with these firms, Ozzy. I'm complimenting you publicly.
Wow. Thank you, sir.
Next to the town attorney.
Yeah, let me
also
get-
played a role in helping interview them.
Well,
did he
this
not?
is true. I take that back. Mr. Gaba as well.
All right. Number 13, discussion of resolution to waive 30-day hold
You
on
did do the search.
on the Casa Brunch LLC. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Liquor license. Next up is
Yes.
14, resolution to commission the monument, discussion resolution to commission a monument commemorating the forging of George Washington's sword. Everybody okay with that?
Yes,
Yes.
just as a point of order, people keep talking about this coming from taxpayers' money, but we're going to use the sale of that property to cover the cost, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Number 15, discussion of resolution to consolidate the Glenham and water districts. That's going to be a separate resolution. Any questions on that now?
No.
No.
Number 16, discussion of resolution to amend the Town Code, Chapter 29, entitled Police Force, to repeal Article 3, entitled Police Commission, and reenact it to set forth provisions creating the Office of Police Commissioner. We talked about that already. We'll move on. 17, discussion of resolution appointing Town Board Liaison. That was,
We've stricken that.
close it, yep.
We'll close that, yeah.
18, discussion of resolution to hire Richard Farrow for the position of part-time officer. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Next up is discussion of resolution to hire Brooke Perozek as part-time police assistant. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next up is discussion to add tow boss to the town of Fishkill toll list. Anybody want to talk about that? Next up is privilege of the floor for agenda items. Anything that's on the agenda, you can speak about the agenda.
Louise Daniele, legal resident of over 30 years. There's so much, I just was trying to scribble it all down. Greg, we do have a part-time police department. We do not have a full-time police department. There's a big difference. Our officers work part-time. We have no full-time employees. That's the differentiating thing there. It would be probably, what, 3 times the amount, Supervisor, if we had a full-time police department?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
How much would it be if we had a full-time police department? At least 3 times,
Generally,
right.
what's happening with the prices, where we're getting to the part where it's getting close to being a full-time PBA.
No, I'm just saying money-wise, because I'm correcting the council member because we do not have a full-time police department. We have a part-time police department.
It's a full-time.
It's like $3.5 million to $7 million.
Yeah, it's a full-time police department staffed by part-time officers. That would be the technical term that I would use.
Well,
Because
I would. Okay.
differentiating full-time and part-time, not in terms of the employees' hours, but in terms of the service provided.
Well-
The service is provided 24/7 as opposed to during a particular period of time like you see in the village, which only offers its services during a particular time, and like overnight, the state police handles their calls.
Okay, so, yeah, but part-time police department is part-time employees. And I don't know, since you did the PBA contract, I'm not really sure, I don't think, are the detectives actually going to go out to calls at night? Because it didn't look like they were just going to get paid to be called, so still a part-time police department. You said, where's my note here? You said that a police commissioner can go out on patrol. No, they can't.
No,
Sure they
can't.
can.
No, they can't, per your own law that you wrote,
Oh, did
which
it?
I will gladly read to you.
All right, I'll take your
but
word for it.
They are
I
an
read it.
administrative position. It's an administrative position, so they can't go out on patrol. We don't want them to go out on patrol. We don't need one to begin with, but if you make one, the police commissioner shall have such powers and shall execute such duties as would otherwise be exercised by the Board of Police Commissioners as specified in town law. You have all of the things listed. The person is not a cop. The person is a civilian administrative officer, not a cop. Let's see, what else did you say? The police, for Council Member Foreman, the police chief should never be involved in a PBA contract. I don't know if the labor attorney told you differently, but they should never be involved in one. They're not part of it. They're not part of the PBA, so they shouldn't be. What was the other things that you said? I agree with Councilmember Rye on the fact that I thought that in the past, not this board, but in the past, you have looked outside the PD. You looked outside the PD for a lieutenant years ago, and you wanted one. And I believe in process. As much as he may be a great guy, and maybe he'd make a good chief, he's our chief now, so I certainly hope he's going to be a good chief. Process should be followed. Like, other people should have the opportunity to give you applications and apply. Then if you come down to him and you still feel that he's the right person, then so be it. But the lack of process is what continues to get me. But it continues to happen. Agenda items, you have in the consent agenda number 30, establishing salaries, page 355, 356. You have 3 lieutenants listed when you currently have 4, but you just made a chief, and you said you were taking another one away. So I'm just wondering if that's correct, because you have 3, but you said you're going to have 2 lieutenants and a chief now.
Cadden's getting demoted, right?
We don't know that. I don't know that. Yeah, is he? I guess we'll know that soon. Also, in consent agenda number 43, where you affirm appointments and positions on page 453, you don't have the rest of the employees listed there. I don't see the highway and buildings and grounds people listed either. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so I'll let Kenya say the next thing that she wants to say about something that was made, a comment that was made. But yeah, it's just kind of, I feel like the pendulum is swinging. You know, it was one way when the prior chief was here, and in my opinion, was not a good way. But it's swinging the other way, which isn't a good way either. And you need to find a middle ground where we actually.
I totally disagree. We had it for 2 years, the way, I kind of like the way it worked with the commissioner. The new board members came in and changed it, got rid of the commissioner, and did it their way. The last 3 years has not been working. So I like to go back to the way it's working for me. I handle the daily operations of the town of Fishkill every day. When there's a complaint, with anything. They don't call a board member, they call me. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, so my point was only that when the prior chief was here, I'm just going to go back in time a little bit. When the town got sued previously by a police officer for speaking to a council member,
Yes.
that never went to trial. So the crux of that was, should that person have been talking to a council member? So now you fast forward a couple of years and you have two council members who freely talk to police officers, the chief, the lieutenant. I don't think that should have been happening. I think that it should be not political at all whatsoever. What you said originally to you and I was that the police department runs itself. You're right, it should run itself. It didn't run itself. It doesn't sound like it's going to run itself, because when I say the pendulum swings, I mean it goes from now your people, like it was Dworkin's people, which I didn't like, and now I kind of feel like, and I'm not saying anything negative about any of these police officers, detective, chief, whatever, but you need to open up the doors and look at other people, like let other people have an opportunity. I know you're shaking your head, this is where the camera needs to turn.
Camera,
But
look
yeah,
at me.
Turn
Camera.
it, camera.
Camera, look at me.
Let us see the head bobbling
Look at
and
me.
shaking.
I tried that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tried that, Councilwoman,
Yeah.
and you know what? I tried that on September 1st. I found a young chief of police who recently retired in his early 40s, combat veteran, and you voted no for the guy.
Okay.
He could have been the chief today.
Okay, so
I think long-term.
let's lose your attitude when you're
There's
talking
no
to me, 'cause
attitude,
I'm
ma'am.
not talking like that to you.
no
But
attitude.
I'll tell you, I remember September 1st because
Yes.
I was up there. I remember it very clearly.
Yes.
You picked someone before we came to the board, and that is why it got voted down. And I am glad it got voted down, because once again, process. For me, it's about process. You should never have told that person that he's going to be our chief, because the board is the one who decides who's going to be the chief. Just like the board should have decided who's going to be the chief tonight. But, John went along with it. I don't blame you, John. Who wants to, rock the boat? Oh my God, Brian, you actually said no. Clap my hands to that one. But I don't agree with you, so you're going to do what you want to do, and I think we should be focused on what's right for the town. And hopefully in the future, we'll have somebody else that will actually be non-political, completely non-political, and get us back on track. Your opinion, my opinion differs, so we'll see what happens for the town.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Okay, I close that out. Louis?
Good evening, members of the town board. Eddie Colon, resident of the town of Fishkill. I kind of agree with Councilwoman, former Councilwoman Danielle. I mean, in the future, we should get someone from the outside. I have no problem working with Chief Clark. We have worked together. I have no problem. I have no problem working with the previous chief, as people say, my friends, or anybody that I go out there, my friends. But it's not all about that. When you get people that they're within, there's a lot of nepotism. There's a lot of things going out there. I mean, the media this weekend was flying out there, but to me, that don't matter, because freedom of speech, freedom of the press. But what I believe is, and it's my opinion, but a person should not get rewarded for what he did, okay? So we're going back to that old thing that's, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. That should be out of it. There should be no political things in here, political things involved. Just because this person helped me here, don't reward him. Get the person that's qualified for the job, not someone that is out there that is problem with the town. I have sued the town so many times. So really, I don't care, because no matter what I say, of the residents of Fishkill said, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. Please, it's not only for me, the residents, think about it. And I know you're smarter than that, Mr. Supervisor, and I know you have good things, but please, next time, whenever the chief decides to resign and we need a new chief, hey, put it out there, get some resume, go through it. We discussed this when we were in the police, when I was in the committee on the police reform. When we get a chief or commissioner, or whoever we're going to put out here that's law enforcement, let's work on it. Let's review it. Just because Joe Blow is cousin of Mrs. Joe Blow, that doesn't make him qualify. Okay? We have to do background check on all these people, which it was also in the police reform when I was in the committee. And that is there.
And before we did the police reform, I was breaking ground by hiring a civilian police commissioner before that happened, and it got sabotaged because of politics.
Well, we bring in politics again, Mr.
No, I'm not.
Supervisor?
No, I'm not.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And we know that. And you know how I feel. All of you know how I feel about this. Because I am honest and I don't sugarcoat anything. I've told you guys before. And I'm loyal. But when you disloyal me, I'm going to, disregard you.
Who's being disloyal?
This afternoon, when we came in here, you shook the person behind me, in front of me, hand. And you didn't even acknowledge that I was there. You look at me,
What are
you
you
kept
talking
walking,
about?
sir. You shook Mr. Nesbitt's hand,
Okay.
right there. And you didn't even say nothing to
And
me.
you had your head, you were turned the other way.
Yeah, but you looked at me, you kept
I
walking.
did look at you.
And that's disrespectful,
No,
sir.
it's not.
Okay, I never disrespected you, Ozzy, never. Never, but you have done it 3 times already.
Yeah, and you turned
Thank
yourself
you.
away from me. Every
Thank
time
you.
you turned yourself away from me.
Okay?
You
Why?
turned yourself away from me.
Why?
I don't know.
Why? No, you know.
No, I don't
You
know.
know. I have nothing else to say,
Thank you, sir.
okay? But one thing I'm gonna say, may God help us all. Because believe me, yeah, that's at it.
This town has never been in better condition overall.
Nobody's saying that, Ozzy, nobody's
You're
saying
asking
that,
God to look
Ozzy.
over the town.
Nobody's saying
The town
that,
is in great
Ozzy.
shape.
Nobody's saying that. You have done great things. But then again, you distinguish a lot of good things from other people that are doing. Okay? And you're using politics to put somebody in a position. And I know why. Okay?
Thank you, Eddie.
All right? Just be respectful. I respect you, you respect me. Okay? That's the least I'm asking from you.
Yes, Mr.
I'm not
Clark.
asking for $1 million or to be on the board or to be appointed to any political position. But give me the respect, I see. The
Thank
same
you.
way I give it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Okay?
Okay. All of these lovely things that have just been said, I find it very interesting that when I came up here before and was speaking about the 2 little things that were going on with the liaison, who mysteriously now that whole town liaison issue has been stricken from the face of the earth. Except I read that. And in that was you, Ozzy, wanting to put Scott Bierce in the position of town liaison.
Yeah.
Now, I know you struck it, and it's gone, vanished,
Yes, you're right.
okay? But how is that? That is a decertified police officer who sued the town, and as a resident of the town, that's a slap in the face that you would even consider to put that person in a position of any kind of power.
Miss, you don't
Yes?
have, you don't, Mr. Bierce had his civil rights violated by members of
Oh,
the
here we
Fishkill
go.
Republican Party. He did not have due process. There were no charges. They decertified him with, yes, ma'am.
It wasn't the party.
So when it
was
went
your
back
par-
to
your-
New York
it was-
State,
it
New
was
York
your
State
boys.
then
Your
could have
boys.
decertified him.
Your boys. Your boys.
Not my
Yeah,
boys.
Your boys.
Last
We
thing,
can't play nice.
it's not my boy.
So the members of the Republican Party who violates this guy's civil rights without due
Really?
process, you okay with that? You think
Really?
this, you
And-
think,
And New York State did not give him back his certification, correct?
because they said,
Why?
because they said he was under, investigation,
Oh,
and he
because they
wasn't.
said, they
And
just
then-
made it up.
No,
New
no, no.
York
you-
State was
no,
not
ma'am.
these 2 gentlemen.
No, ma'am. Nope. He did not have due process.
Oh, he did not have due
He
process.
did not have due
So
process.
now, let me ask you a question, Mr.
Did not have due-
Supervisor.
No, I'm not answering any more questions.
You're not answering any more questions.
Nope.
So when the police commissioner job comes up, and you would like to put Mr. Scott Bierce in that position,
No one
what's
is
going to
being
happen
considered.
then?
No one under any particular name is being
No
considered
one
for the
under
position.
any parti-
No one. There
No.
are no candidates currently under consideration for that position because
Why,
as of
why
this
were there
moment,
no other candidates?
there
in
are
the-
no candidates,
in
not
the
no other
position?
candidates. There are no
Excuse me.
candidates at all.
Excuse me.
Listen, she doesn't like Scott. That's just the way it is.
No, I don't like the way, I just was standing here and said, can't you all get along? And then you sit there and you go after these two, and then you get into a battling word match with Eddie. He did not disrespect you, but you're the one who's sitting there, and Greg, trying to bring this whole political thing into this. The newest person on the board, I've not once heard that person mention anything about politics, but yet you sit there like everything that comes out of everybody's mouth has to be political. It's not political. It's about what's best for the community. And if you turn around and you think that by turning around and creating a position of liaison that you've now done away with, and you, Mr. Albra, putting Scott Bierce in that position, it was right there for the whole world to read, if you could find it in the agenda, that was okay? You think that was okay?
I do.
Do you think that the town residents think it's okay that somebody that sued the town should now get a job that's going to pay him?
I do not think that a citizen should have their civil rights violated, and if I can make
Okay.
I know civil rights don't matter to some people. Civil rights matter to me.
Civil rights don't matter, and
They
New
matter to
York
me.
State doesn't know what they're talking about either, because they didn't give him back his certification either, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was all, oh my God, everybody must have just went up there and said, don't give it back to him. Really? People are supposed to
Really, he
believe
had his civil
that.
rights violated, and I'm making a wrong or right.
They were
I'm gonna call for a
violated.
point of order.
And-
The privilege of the floor is not intended for personal attacks to be levied against private citizens. The individual being referenced here is a private citizen. I would respectfully offer that this line of conversation, this
Okay,
dialogue
so
is
then I go back to
inappropriate.
original. Why
And
can't
it's
you all get
limited to
along?
agenda
And not
items.
for
This is
nothing,
not
if
an
this,
agenda item.
That's true, it's been stricken from the agenda.
If-
It's not an agenda item, ma'am.
oh, that's right, it's stricken off, so we're not allowed to talk about Scott Bierce or the liaison position. And if this chief is going to be getting ready to retire within the next 6 months or the next year, maybe you should start looking now and opening up your parameters to find some candidates, other than just people from Mount Vernon. There are a lot of other places that I'm sure have officers that maybe are looking to fulfill a position.
It's a great idea.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is. Wow, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just can't you all just try to like act for the best for the community? Some of you do, others of you not so much.
So this could have ended a little while ago if you guys are paying attention to the agenda stuff. All this back and forth is really unnecessary, and that discussion need not be had. My question is about, I wanted to ask Gaba, I don't know if he's going to answer me, because I never asked Gaba anything, but I just wanted to, don't be looking up in the sky, I don't ever ask you anything.
I'm just not used to being referred to as Gabba. It could be Mr. Gabba or
I'll call you
Steve.
Gaba Baba, really, but
I feel like a football
I
player.
have my own name for you, but what is it? Is it Gaba?
It's Gabba.
Gaba?
Gabba.
Gabba. Oh, Gabba, oh, thank you. All right, so I want to be respectful. So, and this has nothing to do anything with specifically to any person. However, women are offended right now, so I'm the voice of the women. So if saying to a person that they're about to retire because they're may possibly be the age is like saying to a woman that they're too old to have children. So is that a statement that represents ageism? Because I want to be correct.
I don't understand the question, can you?
The question is like, so I don't want to put nobody on blast because Brian's been good this year. So I don't want to put him on blast. But the example I'm going to use is what Brian said is that he's about to, the chief that just got hired 15 minutes ago, he said that, oh, you're going to retire in 6 months. And so people are a little bothered by that statement because they said it appears to be, and I felt the same way, like ageism, like saying, why would you assume that he's going to retire in 6 months? Is that an ageism statement, or it's just a statement and has no relation to age?
Well, I wouldn't undertake to speak for Brian. He certainly could speak for himself, but the way I understood
Now, I
what he
want
was
to know the
asking...
legal stuff, like the legal
What
stuff.
I understood he was asking was, if we are going to appoint you as police chief, is it going to be for a year? Is it going to be for 2 years? Or are you looking to retire in 4 months? Because if it's a short-term thing, the way I took it was he'd have an issue with that. But I don't think it was,
It was not
gee,
an
we think you're
ageism.
too old for it. It's
Okay.
just how long do you plan on serving in this post?
Okay.
I'm older than he is.
Yeah, we know, you use the age card a lot, but I wasn't talking about
I
you.
don't use it a lot, I just am.
No, you do use it a lot. You know, at all the senior picnics that you show up to just to take a picture, but thank you very much for answering my question, I appreciate that. Thank you, good night.
Where'd you get this? You just handed it to me. That's just the special consideration. Okay.
I just want to follow up on that. I thought that same thing when you asked him. I hope the new chief sticks around for at least 5 years. Is number 20 struck from the agenda
Number 20 where, ma'am?
on page 2?
The tow truck thing?
Yeah.
No, we're going to be voting on that.
You have a lot of contentious stuff on your agenda tonight, wasn't this?
Listen, this is how we operate.
Uh,
Open government. people
It's
come
much
there,
better than
speak.
television. Thank you.
It is much better in televisions, but this is open government. People get to speak, there's no time limit, and this is how it's supposed to be. None of us take any of this personal. It is what it is. The citizens are the boss, period. Sir?
Renato Pistolesi. Been in this Fishkill for over 50 years. So, talking about the appointed police chief, used to be Lieutenant Clark, now Chief Clark, congratulations. My experience from being on the rotational tow list in Fishkill, your previous chief, Dorkin there, as far as I'm concerned, he was useless. Over the few years that I've been part of the rotational tow list, I've had several situations that I've put in phone calls to speak to the chief, and never once did he ever give me the courtesy to call me back. But we're past that now, and Chief Clark, I've had some situations over the early summertime, 2 or 3 times. I put in some phone calls to speak to the, at the time, part-time chief, and with all due respect, he called me back immediately, solved my issues on every case. So as far as I'm concerned, I think he did a great job. Whether he's going to be part-time, full-time, or I mean, whether he's going to be here for a year, 2 years, 5 years, I think at the time that he decides to say, hey, I'm going to go fishing, then you should open your eyes up to looking outside the area, like a lot of people feel that should be done. That's my part on that. As far as the tow list goes, like I said, I've been in Fishkill for over 50 years. I was 40 years old when I started coming to this board to apply to get on this tow list. I'm 63 now, and I've been part of this tow list for about 3 years. So I'm sure everybody can do the math. It took me over 20 years to get on this tow list. You have other people that are trying to get on the tow list now. We're allowed up to 6 companies. For a very long time, there's only been 2 companies on the tow list in that 20-year span that I was trying to get part of this tow list. I did my time. I finally got approved, got on the tow list. I don't think there's an officer in the department that will say that the 4 companies that are now on the list isn't enough and sufficient. I'd just like to know, before anybody votes on the particular person that's trying to get on the tow list now, have they done any studies? Have they done any surveys? Have they talked to officers or the now full-time chief if they think that we need another company on the tow list, that the 4 companies that are on the tow list aren't sufficient enough? Just want to know if anybody's done any homework before you make a decision that I believe, my personal opinion, will be catastrophe for the town of Fishkill. Because all you got to do is, do a little homework and do some studying and look up the person that you're looking to maybe possibly put on the tow list. That's all I got to say. And Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. That's it? All right, we're going on to resolutions.
Consent.
I'm sorry, consent?
That's
Where am I?
as amended. Did you not amend
We amended
consent item?
2 salaries, right?
Yes.
We amended 2 salaries on there.
Yep.
So let me make a motion.
What are the numbers that we took off?
I don't believe we removed any consent items, but we amended a couple of them to correct the salary numbers.
Yeah, there was a couple of typos in somebody's salary that we
Yep.
just have
Yeah.
to fix tomorrow. That's all.
Right,
That's
right.
all that was.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, now we got resolutions. We did 1, we did 2, we did 3. So we're up to the town historian. Item number 9772, whereas the town of Fishkill maintains the position of town historian, and whereas the position of town historian is subject to annual appointment by the town board, and whereas the town board has received the annex of the next resume of Robert A. Becary in regard to the position of town historian, and whereas Mr. Becary is very well qualified to fill the said position, now therefore resolved that Robert A. Becary is hereby appointed to the position of town historian. Presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I have just a moment pause here?
Yeah. Yeah, if I come to a resolution, just ask before I do the vote and discuss it if you want to do that.
No, I don't want to, it's just I want to say thank you to Arnold Restivo for his service as the town historian. Again, I wasn't aware that there was a new person that was coming in. It would be nice to know. This gentleman has great credentials, there's no doubt about it, but sharing, Ozzy, that this change was happening I would appreciate. And I just want to say, Arnold, you know, you worked hard for a year, and thank you for your service to the town.
Thank you. All right, next up is number 5, resolution for consolidation of the Glenham and Blodgett water districts.
I'm going to recommend that we just do the whereas, or just the resolves, because the whereases are about 4 pages.
Well, if I could suggest, somebody should make a motion, one of the board members, to waive the reading, and then at the end, you can just read the bold print here, motion to adopt a resolution making certain determinations in regard to an approving consolidation of the Glenham Water District
Got it.
of the town.
So moved.
Okay. Make a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now you can
I
just
want to
read.
discuss it when you're done reading it.
Okay.
Me too.
Determination. Now therefore it be resolved by the town board of the town of Fishkill, Dutchess County, New York, as follows. Section 1, upon the record of the town board, it is hereby found and determined as follows. Number A, the notice of hearing was duly published and posted by required law and is otherwise sufficient. B, all the property and property owners within the said proposed consolidated Glenham Water District are benefited thereby. C, all the property and property owners benefited by the proposed consolidation of the Glenham Water Districts are included within the limits of the district. D, in the public interest to approve the proposed consolidation of the Glenham Water District. Section 2, the consolidation Glenham Water District as more fully described in the map, plan, and report prepared by CPL Engineer Planning, competent engineers and duly licensed by the state of New York. Section 3, the consolidated Glenham Water District shall be bound and described as set forth in Schedule A as attached hereto and made a part thereof. Section 4, the resolution shall take effect immediately. The resolution was thereupon declared duly adopted. I'm going to be a no on this, but you can start. John, you can go first.
I was going to ask why the 180 on this, but if you're a no, I don't have to ask.
Any other comments?
Why is it on the agenda, since you all made a major political thing out of this? All we're talking about is a consolidation. You know, I researched this a great deal because I was very confused in a grant that was given to the town that many towns were given for the sake of efficiency to cut down on paperwork. And these water districts have nothing to do with, oh, all of a sudden builders are going to be here. No, it's all about paperwork. It's all about fulfilling and bringing efficiencies is all it's about. And if there was going to be any water shortage, having consulted with the village where we get the water from for this district, all you had to do was write an MOA asking for a little bit more water and it would be granted because they have plenty. So I just, why since it was made such a political football, which it didn't need to, it just created anxiety for people unnecessarily, why is it on the agenda now? I'm confused.
Mr. Gabb, explain to him what a non-action is.
Well, let me just take, if I could, Ozzy, please. So, proceedings to create or consolidate water districts, which are treated the same, and sewer districts and so forth as well, require an endpoint in which the town board makes a determination as to whether or not the criteria for consolidation or creation has been met. you need to adopt a resolution which either says, yes, the criteria has been met, or a resolution saying, no, the criteria hasn't been met. There's a third possibility in this particular case because this is proceeding under Town Law 12A as opposed to 12, so you can withdraw the petition to create, to consolidate the water districts if you decide you just don't want to go any further with it. You had before you a resolution and separately an order, and you do tonight as well, making positive findings, making findings that it's in the public interest and, you know, all the criteria have been met for consolidation of the districts. There was previously a 2-2 vote on that resolution, which doesn't pass it, but also doesn't make a finding that there should not be consolidation of the districts, and it also doesn't withdraw the proceeding. So, because you had a 2-2 vote, you still have the proceeding outstanding. You now have a 5-person board. So the proper step procedurally is to bring up the resolution again for consideration. If the board does not vote in favor of it, then you will not go on to consider the order. What you will do then is either make a determination that you want council to prepare a resolution, because you won't need an order if it's a negative vote, making findings that consolidation is inappropriate, or you will vote to simply withdraw the proceeding and either never bring it up again or put it off to another day.
Okay.
So that's where you are right now. You have a positive finding resolution in front of you. Now you're going to have a full board vote on it, and depending on the outcome of that vote, we'll see what happens next. But it's purely procedural. You may think it's a good idea, you may think it's a bad idea, but it's not being brought up as for another, you know, determination on the merits. It's being brought up because procedurally it's the right thing to do.
It's the same positive finding as there was 6 months ago.
Exact same resolution, just redated.
So if I don't want it to pass, I'll be voting no?
You'll be voting no if you don't want it to pass.
Okay, any other questions, gentlemen? Present that as a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry?
Did you want to present that as a motion?
Yeah, I could vote against it.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. John seconded it, roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
I just wanted to say one thing about this, that, you know, in effect, it may reduce paperwork, but there are other unintended effects, and they're not political. There are the real things that we live with every day, like traffic and overdevelopment. And I'm not saying at some point we will not consolidate the districts and move on a project, but I would rather the people of the town make that decision when we come to that. There's no reason for us to consolidate districts at this time. So my vote is no.
Councilmember Totino?
Yeah, I'm also going to speak briefly before voting. Yeah, the council member could not be more correct. The reality is that when you consolidate districts on paper, you consolidate them in reality. You cannot consolidate the paperwork for 2 districts without consolidating the water supply of the 2 districts. And while that isn't necessarily done with the intention of doing anything other than streamlining the process of record keeping at Town Hall for our employees, it has serious real-world consequences as it pertains to development. And you cannot ignore those because, well, that's not the purpose of what we're doing. Well, if it's the effect of what we're doing, then we must do as I am doing now by voting no.
John?
Councilmember Foreman?
Yeah, I think the development excuse doesn't hold water, no pun. But, you know, we have a comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan is not going to allow any developer to come in and build hundreds of houses and scare everybody. So this should be yes. I'm voting yes.
It's,
Councilmember Rye?
thank you. It's, you know, I looked into this during the time because I was just amazed how a grant that we got in 2015, which Ozzy, you hired CPL to fulfill that grant. You hired them, and then all of a sudden it was a political issue. And there's nobody on this board voting yes or no that wants anybody to be deprived of water. I looked into that. This district can get more water with a simple request if it needed to happen. I understood that there was a surplus, and there's no turning over to developers. I get so tired of that. I don't know a damn developer except the one that I voted against to get a tax deal in the village the other day. Stood up there and spoke against that. So I am a yes because it's just unnecessary politicalization here.
So the number one issue for the residents of Fishkill is traffic and development. Everybody knows I enforce a zoning law stopping well over 1,000 homes from being built in the town of Fishkill. As you get older and wiser and you sit in this seat, you learn. And you can control development by controlling water and sewer. So the Glenham Water District, which is in the area of the 84 Diner to the Route 52 town line to Beacon, has excess capacity, and the Route 9 corridor in the McDonald's area doesn't have capacity. Why would we take a chance? The board members, candidates for office have said, it's not before the board, this development. Why do they run water lines to the Putnam County line if they didn't expect development in the future? So there's properties where if it's zoned for high-density housing and they could put 500 homes in X amount of acres, if they don't have municipal water, they can't do that. It allows the supervisor and the town board to protect the citizens of Fishkill and get lower development. It's a tool. Why would we give capacity so a developer shows up 10, could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road? Why would we do them a favor? So this is one of my favorite votes ever, since I'll be the tie-breaking vote, and I'm emphatic no. Motion fails.
The board doesn't have to decide now, but at some point, you should make a determination as to whether you want us to prepare a resolution denying consolidation, or if you simply want to vote to withdraw the proposed consolidation at this
Which one is more official? They're
More
both, which one has
official.
more teeth in it?
Pardon?
Which one has more teeth in it? Which resolution, doesn't matter?
Well, neither has more teeth in it. If you're saying that if it was denied, that it couldn't be changed at a later date, that's simply not the case. It could be if another board got in or if you changed your minds.
Residents of Fishkill, you just heard what the town attorney said. This could be changed with a different makeup of the board. Remember that.
It's not going to happen because nobody wants 500 places built anywhere in this town.
But my point is that legally, it doesn't make a difference whether you withdraw it or you have the resolution. That's up to you. You can do either.
So what's the easiest, just withdraw it right now?
Well, it's not on the agenda. You should have it for your next meeting. But yes, you'd have a resolution withdrawing the proposed consolidation of the districts.
And what was the other option?
To have resolution denying the proposed
I want a
consolidation.
resolution denying it.
Well, what does the board want?
Who wants a resolution to deny?
I'm happy with a resolution to deny.
We could deny it.
All right.
Resolution to deny.
Prepare a resolution denying the consolidation.
Okay.
Before we move on, perhaps this is the incorrect time, but I just wanted to say it while I've still got it in my head. Mr. Gabby, you mentioned that, a future board could sort of reverse that determination and move forward. But as we've done in the past, we like to put things in the people's hands to decide. Would it be appropriate for you to draft a local law that would make any water district consolidation subject to mandatory referendum?
No, I don't believe that can be done.
That's unfortunate.
Is there something that we could do along those lines? Make it a supermajority of the town board to vote for it?
Yeah, maybe along
Make it
those lines.
unanimous?
I've seen other municipalities enact a local law saying you need a supermajority, and then if you had a supermajority, that might give rise to referendum. I'm not sure. I only saw it in one other instance, and that was pertaining to term limits. So, I mean, there's this particular procedure in the town law for consolidating districts, and I don't know that a municipality can override it, even under the municipal home rule law.
Could you perhaps look into that and just send us a
I can
memo?
look into it, but not for next meeting.
No, just send us a memo when you have time. We've got time, but
Okay.
it's just an issue that's close to hand. Because
I will do that.
none of us will be around forever in these capacities, and, we would hate to see future boards, that might have different ideas, potentially putting, the town residents' quality of life at risk.
Everything the residents watched tonight, you saw a little drama about some things. This was the most important night, the most important thing of today and the rest of the year. Next up is the final...
Can I give a closing remark since everybody else is giving closing
Sure,
remarks
Councilman.
on this vote? My whole thing is fulfilling a grant from 2015. And, if you guys want to come up with something that forbids whatever for water, whatever in the future, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
This is about a grant now, but at a particular time, we escape being penalized financially by the state from not fulfilling.
Wait,
If
I'm
you
sorry, say it
read-
again, we what?
If you read the tenets of the grant, it's all about efficiency. It's
Yeah.
all it's about.
And the grant writer told us that it was okay not to do it. We're not going to
And
be,
that's fine.
we're not going to
So-
be penal, we're not going to lose money because of the grant.
Well, we lucked out. So.
No, we didn't look out. I explained to the grant, that the citizens of Fishkill were concerned about getting a developer these extra conditions, and they agreed with me. There's no looking out.
Okay.
Just like what I did with Downstate.
All right.
Nope. Just like I did with Downstate, I create position papers. I look forward. I do my homework. So when people say we lucked out, we don't luck out.
Well,
We do our homework.
We engaged in the
You
process
see,
in
talking
good
about
faith.
doing homework, so did I. And the project manager here in the town that worked on this, I said, could you just give me a memo on this and have me understand what happens if we don't? And there was that, he wrote there was that potential to be financially fine.
Yes.
So I'm very glad that we didn't. There's no doubt about that, and we can move on from that.
Yeah,
My whole deal was 2015, and you hired the engineering firm to fulfill the grant. So I just don't
Just want to make it clear,
politicalization of
just want to make
grant.
Just want to make it clear that there was no looking out to get the grant fulfilled. We prepared a memo to them explaining why the residents came up and spoke against it. I hope we didn't forget that. There was a public hearing, right, Greg?
Yes, there was.
Oh,
There was a public hearing.
And that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
There was
residents
robust
were
public
against it.
participation. And no one could say that the town didn't do its due diligence or act in good faith. We went through all of the steps for the completion of this process, but ultimately, the completion of the process is either a determination of yes, it is in the public interest, or no, it is not in the public interest. And we have ultimately reached the determination that it's not in the public interest, but ultimately, completing a process and saying no to something doesn't mean that you didn't do it. So,
Okay,
of course, we get to keep that grant funding. We don't have to pay it back.
It wasn't luck. That's all I want to
Ozzy,
say.
I'm sorry, but next item up is number 6, which
Yep.
is the order. The order you can close, well, they're not withdrawn if they want, so just close it out.
So the next
And
one
then
is
you can
done?
go on to go on to
Good,
7.
thank you. So the next one is a statute? Yeah, good. I'm going to read this. This is good. This is good. January 2nd, 2025, resolution commissioning a monument commemorating the forging of George Washington's sword by John Bailey in the town of Fishkill, ID 9778. Whereas John Bailey, a renowned 18th century smith and cutler, was a Fishkill resident. Whereas John Bailey forged a 3 1/2 foot silver mounted fine sword for General George Washington for the use in the American Revolutionary War, and whereas George Washington carried the Bailey sword with him throughout the Revolutionary War and was depicted with it at his side celebrating the painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware, and whereas in order to commemorate and preserve history in the town of Fishkill, it is fitting to erect a monument recognizing John Bailey's contribution to the American history by commemorating the forging of George Washington's sword in Fishkill, and whereas the town board wishes to commission a monument commemorating the forging of George Washington's sword by John Bailey in accordance with the specifications and the terms set forth in the attached proposal received from Mr. Coropian Sculpture LLC, a copy of which is attached hereto, and to place it in the monument area located between the police department and the rec center. Now therefore be resolved that the proposed construction of the Washington sword constitute a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and 2, the proposed construction of the Washington Bailey Sword Monument constitute creative artwork which is not subject to competitive bidding requirements under New York State law, and 3, that the town board approves a proposal for creation of the said monument submitted by Coropian Sculpture LLC, a copy of which is attached hereto. Number 4, the town supervisor is authorized to execute such documents that are necessary to secure performance under the proposal for the creation of the monument submitted by Coropian Sculpture LLC. Just remind the citizens of the town of Fishkill, Mr. Coropian is the one that did the Chief Nimhap statue, which the residents of Fishkill love. Presented as a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Look, we can agree on something.
We can agree on something. You and I have been working on this for 2.5 years.
Me and Brian, take your pick.
Brian?
Okay, Brian, since you brought it up, you're going to be the second.
Okay, all right, amen. All right.
One note as we move on, because it was mentioned by someone, I don't remember who, at the podium. The mock-up, the artist rendering, is not a verbatim of what the thing will look like. So the plaque that was depicted on the back that references the dedication of the police department in 2020, that's a placeholder. It's simply for conceptualization. It is not a verbatim of what it's going to look like. I'm confident that the plaque will accurately reflect the purpose of the project.
Absolutely. Next up, resolution intrusive in local law to repeal Article 3, Chapter 29, to reenact, create Office of Police Commissioner, ID number 9779, whereas the town board of the town of Fishkill has proposed local law, bless you, entitled "The Local Law to Amend the Town of Fishkill Town Code, Chapter 29, entitled Police Force, to repeal Article 3, entitled Police Commission, and reenact it to set forth provision creating the Office of Police Commissioner, and whereas in order to consider enacting the proposed local law, it must be formally introduced to the public and must be scheduled and held upon it. Now therefore resolved that the movement, number one, the movement of this resolution does have and by hereby introduce the above proposed local law. Number two, that the public hearing on the proposal local law be set for the February 5th, 2025 town board meeting at 7 o'clock. And due notice of the same is directed to be given to the publications and posting. I'll present it as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
Aye.
Councilmember Totino?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman?
No.
Councilmember Rye?
No.
Supervisor Albro?
Yes, motion passes. Next up, we did not do the town board liaison.
Oh, that is
And number,
And withdrawn.
that was withdrawn. Number 10. Number 10 is a resolution of reduction in force, whereas the town board of the town of Fishkill, for reasons of economy and efficiency, has determined that it is appropriate to abolish civil service position, a certain civil service position in the town. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby abolishes 0.5 full-time equivalent part-time lieutenant positions in the non-competitive class of civil service effective close of business day, January 2nd, 2025. Be it further resolved that the reasons for economy and efficiency, the town board has determined that it is appropriate to abolish one full-time competitive class civil service position of the Director of Human Resources effective close of business, January 2nd, 2025. And be it further resolved that the said employee in the competitive class of civil service shall be notified in writing of their placement of a preferred list regarding their entitlement to recall for a period of 4 years from the date of abolition of the position in accordance with Section 81 of the Civil Service Law. And be it further resolved that the said employee in the non-competitive class of the civil service shall be notified in writing of their rights in accordance with Section 80 of the Civil Service Law. And be it further resolved that the town board will hereby directly provide written notice to those employees whose positions are hereby reduced, abolished, or applicable. We're going to probably save about $50,000, $50,000, at least $50,000 doing this. I'll present this a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
Aye.
Councilmember Totino?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman?
No.
Councilmember Rye?
No.
Supervisor
Yes,
Albro?
yes, I'd like to say $50,000.
I was never given enough information to make a proper vote, so I had.
We talked about this position in executive session with the town attorney and labor attorney, and you changed your mind. All right, next up is,
It was an executive session, what are we doing, talking about it?
I'm not talking about it, I'm saying you changed your mind. I didn't say what you were, yes or no for it, but you changed your mind. Resolution to update the town of Fishkill tow rotation list, adding tow boss. Is that our last one?
That is our last one.
Our last one, okay. I'm going to be a no for this. This tour about town board liaison. Where the heck is that one? I got it, I found it.
You do? Okay.
Yep. So I'll definitely be a no on this one. Whereas the town has considered the request of tow companies desired to be adding to the town rotational list, and whereas the town has completed a background checks for each provider places business as all employed tow truck operators, and whereas the town board desired to update the list of eligible tow companies based on such consideration, now therefore it be resolved, the town board as follows. Number one, all whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein and by reference as set forth in full. Number two, the town board hereby approves the addition of tow boss to the town of Fishkill rotational list, subject to the town's receipt of a completed version of the new applications. Such companies shall be added to the tow list effective upon receipt of completed applications. Section 3, the town supervisor and any other employee as directed by the town supervisor shall take any and all necessary actions to carry out the provisions in this resolution. Section 5, this resolution shall be effective immediately. Somebody has to make a motion in a second.
I'd like to make a motion.
Ask for a second.
Can I get a second, please?
Is Tobas here?
Yep.
Before we do
Sure.
a vote, can you come up? And I'd like to ask our new chief if he would mind coming for a quick conversation. I appreciate it, sir.
Well, you voted against the guy. You think he's going to come up here now?
I'm sorry, he's our chief.
Yeah?
He and I have an understanding.
You have an understanding? Okay.
Yeah, no, don't get
Never got a
cute.
chance to meet
Don't
him.
get cute. Let's keep it professional. So, I just want to know, are you familiar with his company?
No, we've never met. I
You're
never had to use
you're
the
not
services.
familiar? Okay. There's been no interaction. So, do you, because we're not getting the reporting, are there any conflicts out there with any tow company right now in the town of Fishkill that you're aware of? I'm just for information.
Not that I've seen, I get the reports
Yeah.
every week, and I have not seen anything that reportedly would be a conflict.
Okay. Are you familiar with the tow policy and everything?
Basically, yes.
Yeah. Do we have room for more on
Well, I
the?
believe it says we could have 6,
We could have 6.
but
And right now we have 4.
right now we have 4, and it seems to be working pretty well right now.
Right.
No offense
I
to
am,
this gentleman.
I am a local business now in this town.
Yeah. Okay.
Just said, no
I'm
offense
just
to this
asking for
gentleman.
general purposes, because he is a local business person, pays taxes to the town of Fishkill, and there's another tow company out there as well that's local and pays taxes. So,
Want to talk to us about your fleet?
Right now, currently, I just purchased $500,000 tow truck that can handle tractor trailers, box trucks, anything you can bring to the table right now, I can handle. Right now, the other 4 individuals that are on the list cannot accommodate it at all. So when you guys have Route 9 shut down due to a tractor trailer, it's happened numerous times in the last 2-3 years, right in front of my shop. You got to call outside sources, which is
And where are they located?
Poughkeepsie, Brewster, and LaGrangeville. Right now, that's who has
The big trucks.
capability of doing that, correct. Not only that I purchased that truck, I do have medium-duty flatbed. I also have other municipality trucks that I handle. I have a full staff.
How many?
Huh?
How many?
I've got 4.
Okay. What's your investment in all these trucks? What kind of dollar amount?
I got a lot. I mean, I didn't bring that with me right now, but
Well into 6 figures?
well over that.
What list are you on now?
What's that? I'm
What
on
lists?
Town of Newburgh. I'm on Interstate 84 with New York State Police, Village of Fishkill, Putnam County Sheriff, Dutchess County Sheriff, and I've been trying to get on this list for over 10 years. I know when you were on the board many years ago, and I had some issues, and we handled them, and I was reinstated. I was denied, obviously, but I was told that if I got my stuff in order and I'm back on the list, I would be
Is that
considered.
state police list?
Yes.
And you resolve those?
I resolved them.
And you had paperwork indicating that they're satisfied or happy?
Yeah, I mean, they put, New York State Police put me back on the list. I had an issue with them. I wasn't banned from any other municipality, it was just New York State Police. So at the time, the board felt that because I was suspended off the New York State Police list many years ago, that it was not in my best interest right now to be on the toll list. So that's where everything just went downhill.
Could I ask the chief if he thinks it would be a benefit having a tow company who's got the trucks that this gentleman has?
With the heavy-duty trucks?
Yeah.
Then local? Absolutely. Absolutely. Not to mention, I mean, the volume of car accidents that we do have in this town, having an extra one couldn't hurt. But the decision is up to you.
I understand. Okay.
I'm good. You have any issues right now, legal, otherwise?
No.
Nothing going on?
I'll tell you one thing right now is that my company was taken to here in the town of Court for Putnam County. There was a motor vehicle accident, probably, about a month ago? Month and a half ago. 50 feet, 70 feet into the woods on 9D. It was in Putnam County. Customer had Allstate. I'm sure he would sit here and agree to me on this one. Allstate customers were only covered for $1,000. Recovery was 2.5 hours. Chainsaws, chop saws, you name it. We were out there getting this, and I warned the customer. Obviously, the insurance company paid me for the service, but the insurance company wound up taking the difference of the tow bill and taking it out of his settlement. He wasn't happy, so he took me to court. Okay, that's the only thing that's going on right now. It wasn't a police issue. This was just a issue that just happened, you know. It's still in litigation.
What court is this in litigation at?
In here,
What court? Town of Fishkill
Town of
Justice Court?
Fishkill.
So you have
Town-
litigation currently going on in Fishkill Town Court?
correct.
Thank you.
Correct. But I have the documents of the videos, the recovery, and I can't get into the details with it right now, but this was not a police issue. This wasn't somebody, an authorization, somebody telling me that, look, you know, you better do this, or, but this was, the customer was not fully covered for the recovery.
But Allstate paid you
Allstate
your bill.
paid me, correct. They paid me my bill. They paid me the bill, okay? But they were not happy
You're
with
unhappy with Allstate, not with you.
correct. They were fine with what I did, because I showed the video, I showed the recovery, I showed the manpower, I showed how long it took. The vehicle was demolished. I mean, we had to cut trees, guardrails, everything.
So basically, that's that, and lawsuits sometimes happen, but you're a local business in good standing with all these authorities that you utilize your services, and you have this extra equipment, and being a local taxpayer, you know, it just feels like it's appropriate.
I mean, but, you know, I don't want to, you know, compare apples to oranges, but everybody gets sued every day, you know? I mean, this is, it's not unheard of, you know?
So, motion, you want to go forward?
John made the motion, you did the second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
He did.
He mentioned you?
He passed to something.
He mentioned your name?
He pointed.
Yeah, he said that Renato could attest to
Okay,
the
Mr.
fact that
Renato.
About the
Allstate.
Allstate.
Yeah.
Okay.
About Allstate.
Limit.
Okay. You guys okay with it? I'm okay with it.
What Matt says here is true. Allstate is the only insurance company out there that they have a cap on towing and storage, but it's up to the tow company at that point, because Allstate will say to you, listen, they've got it's called a fire and casualty policy, and they'll say to you, listen, our insured has a fire and casualty policy. We all know what that means in this business. It's something wrong that they do, and they mislead their customers. It's not fair what they do, and the customers, some of the old original Allstate customers from 40, 50 years ago, at some point when they renew, they don't pay attention, and their brokers or whoever don't let them know that there's this clause in there. Now they're going to change their policy, and they're going to give them a fire and casualty policy, and they don't read the fine print, and where it says you're covered for $1,000 cap. That's it, and they don't read that. So when the time comes, they crash their car, like what Tow Boss is saying, and you go into this crazy recovery, and we've all done it. All right. You know, as a tow company, you have what I've done is I just take the $1,000. I'm not going to, the person just lost their car. It's not, you know, it's their fault that they didn't read the fine print that it says you got a $1,000 cap, but at the end of the day, you still made $1,000. Yeah, you worked your ass off, but you still made $1,000 doing the towing and recovery. You might have stored the car for 20 days, whatever. I always say, and I tell all my competition that talk to me on a daily basis, I tell them, sometimes chicken, sometimes feathers. It's just the way it works in this world. But then you get people like him that he's being taken to court.
Personal attacks.
Don't get personal.
Excuse me?
No personal
Don't get
attacks.
personal.
Don't get personal.
Oh, no, I'm not getting personal. Just, well, no, I didn't.
Say businesses. You can say
Okay,
businesses.
I'm getting personal. I'm getting personal, because you're the one that took the money from
Here we go
Allstate
again.
and allowed the insurance company, and
Okay,
allowed the
roll call.
insurance
All right,
company.
done. That's it. Roll call vote. Let's wrap it up.
Councilmember Bardini?
No.
Councilmember Totino?
Abstention.
Councilmember Foreman?
Abstention, Greg?
Yes, I'm not voting no. I'm not voting yes.
Okay, that's not what we had talked about back in October.
No, but
Yeah.
there's an...
No, there's no but.
Mr. Foreman, we've just heard
Councilmember
about an
Foreman, it
incident
sounds
that's
like you
taking
got like
place
a
in the
You're
last
done.
month.
system
You're
going
done,
here.
sir.
No, I'm not going to shut up.
Yeah, you're done.
No, I'm not.
No, Renato,
Sounds like
you
you
are
got
out
a
of
good old
order.
boy system going here. What are you accusing him of?
No, Renato, that's it, that's it. We're
He knows what
voting.
I'm accusing him of.
We're voting. The legal stuff.
I abstain. To
Okay.
answer the councilman's question, as clearly discussed at the podium tonight, there is now new information. I'm not killing it. I'm not voting in favor right now. I am abstaining.
That is not what you agreed on with me, Mr. Totino.
Hey,
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Quiet. All right, come on,
Greg?
Kevin.
I hear you, John. And
You hear me?
I understand. I
I hope
understand.
you hear me.
I understand.
Councilmember Foreman,
Yes.
Councilmember Rye,
Yes.
Supervisor Albro.
Just want to ask a question to the town attorney. If we wanted to, since no other tow company offers that big, heavy equipment, are we allowed to have a special thing where if the big trucks are needed, we could do something like that? Can we separate it, or they all have to be on the list?
You have a tow list, you're required to call, because that's the way you set it up. You're required to call, seriate them one after another, the people on the tow list. If the person you call doesn't have the vehicles to handle the accident, you can move on to the next person on the tow list. But you can't go outside the tow list until you've exhausted all of those four.
So we have 4 tow companies. If none of the 4 have the equipment to do what he does, we can call him to come do the job.
If the other 4 are in agreement with you that they can't do the job, then yes.
So for
So we
those
don't have to do
heavy
anything.
type of incidents that, you know, the gentleman was mentioning that he's capable of handling for oversized vehicles and things which other, you know, suppliers or other, you know, contractors on that list may not be able to handle, we could then call him if those contractors determine, yeah, that's not something I can do.
The way the tow list is set up, you're required to give the first call to the person who's up, whose time is on the
Right.
tow list. If they can't handle it, you're required to go to the next person who's up, and then the third person, and then the fourth person. You cannot assume that those people agree with you that they can't handle the job. If you have something beforehand as an agreement that we can't handle it if you need, I don't know, an enormous wrecker for something, then perhaps you could skip calling them and just call in someone else. Absent that, though, you need to call them one after another, until all 4 are exhausted, and then you can call in another tow company.
Okay, so we don't have to,
Randall's or Bruce.
that's okay. All right,
If you need a heavy, I'll buy a heavy.
I'm a no, motion fails.
Okay.
Simple as that. Next up is item for special consideration. We have 1 resolution appointing a legislative aide, whereas the town of Fishkill maintains the position of legislative aide, and whereas the position of legislative aide is subject to the annual appointment by the town board, and whereas the town board wishes to appoint Jason Gilbert to the position of legislative aide, now there be for resolved as follows. Number 1, Jason Gilbert is hereby appointed to the position of legislative aide, and number 2, that the said position shall be a full-time position serving at the pleasure of the town supervisor at a salary of $50,000 per year. I'll make a motion to present it. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion.
There's no resume attached. There's no description of
I have the
jobs. And
Do you have the resume?
I can't vote for this. We never talked about this at the budget.
Okay. That's going to save us money on the budget. And
Yeah,
plus,
yeah.
And plus, you voted no against the budget.
I did.
Yes.
did.
After you cut like 2.4 million out of it, don't forget that.
That's right.
Roll call.
Well, I wasn't the only one that did that, Ozzy.
Councilmember Bardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Totino.
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman.
No.
Councilmember Rye.
What is he gonna do?
He's going to do.
Whatever Ozzy asked him to do.
Yeah.
Whatever any of us ask him to do as legislative
See,
aide,
it's
he
right here.
answers to
It's right
the
here.
town board.
There's nothing. Doesn't have to do anything. There's no description here.
It's a civil service position. It's existed for a while, John. It has. I've seen the prior resolutions on it.
Well, it's not in here, though.
No, it isn't. It's in the civil service description of the position, though.
It is. And my predecessor had the same position and he filled it. I don't know why I shouldn't have the same rights as my predecessor, but I don't belong to his group, so I should be
The
punished.
3
for it.
members of the board to my left, all of them made me a legislative aide on a temporary basis just over 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's simply a position where the employee is flexible and able to respond to the demands of the town board,
Is
whatever
this
they
in
may be.
addition to Joe Perone?
No,
Or is
Joe.
this replacing him?
This is not replacing Joe Perone, no. No, he's gonna have different tasks. I'm gonna train him on a whole bunch of things. Where are we at? Where are we at?
So you're
How's
saying,
that,
before I
Councilmember
cast my
Ryan?
vote,
Yes.
we're in a limbo here. You're saying legislative aid, you're gonna tell him what to do, but we also can use him for.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, and given what he told me, he gave me like 5 seconds of his resume verbally right here, and he sounds extremely impressive. There's no doubt about that. So I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, I'm a yes.
Thank you, Brian. I'm a yes, motion
Supervisor.
passes. Thank you. New and old business, Jackie, or you got anything for us?
Sorry, not feeling it here.
Thank you for coming, we needed you.
But, yeah, next week, I'm sure I'll have more things. Everybody, Happy New Year.
Greg?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer a fun piece of historical trivia here. We just commissioned the monument this evening for the Bailey sword, and are including with this monument a depiction of probably the most famous painting of the American Revolution, which is George Washington crossing the Delaware with the sword clearly visible on his sword belt. And it's just one of those reminders that art and history and life, they may imitate each other, but they're not always exact, because George Washington and the Continental Army crossed the Delaware to attack the Hessian stronghold at Trenton, New Jersey on Christmas Eve of 1776. And John Bailey made his sword in 1778. The painting, very famous painting, was painted some 50 years after the Revolution ended, by which time Washington's sword was legendary. It had already been bequeathed to Congress, which was in possession of it at the time, and it entered its way into folklore of sorts by being painted into a scene depicting George Washington about a year and a half before he was ever given the sword. So just a reminder that history is malleable, and what we see in paintings depicting it, our visions of history in the past aren't always exactly as it was.
Thank you. John?
No.
Brian?
Yes. Just covered up my notes. I'm trying to be efficient here. And I will say this. I've mentioned this before. John has mentioned this before. We have major expenses coming up for the PBA contract and for the wages and salaries for the highway department unionized. It's time now for us to pass a hotel room tax, because that's over $1 million coming in. How much is $1 million? You did the calculation.
We estimated about 1.2.
1.2 million coming in that taxpayers will be relieved from, and being able to use that. What hotel do you check in what town where they don't have that? And Fishkill needs to have it, and that would be a relief to taxpayers. We need to talk about this.
Well, you better talk quick, because the state has its own calendar.
So when do we need to have something like that in? Because that's a major amount of money.
I believe it has to be in by the end of March.
Okay, well, we've got time to talk about it. Okay?
Mr. Gaba, you and me had a discussion that was in the New York State town law, a section that the town board passed decades ago, which was never enacted. Can you bring the board members up to speed on that? So this is something I would consider.
That was a different section though, Ozzy. The one we discussed was a transfer tax.
Yes.
In regard to sales of real property.
Yes.
And there's authorizing legislation on the books for the town to enact it's a conservation fund is I believe the name of it. And if you wanted to go forward with that, you could. What Brian's talking about is a hotel tax. You would also need authorizing legislation for that.
Who pays that tax, the seller or the buyer?
The seller pays it for the
seller.
The seller.
Forget it then. Forget it.
Hotel taxes, of course.
No, I understand that.
No, I'd rather have we make the law where the buyer pays the tax to come into the town. I don't want to punish a resident of Fishkill for selling the house. I don't want to do that.
I can jump in on this.
I misspoke. The buyer pays that, not the seller.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I didn't want to contradict you
Thank
directly,
you.
but
I was wrong.
In my prior existence, I was a check-in manager at a hotel in my 20s, and occupancy tax, which is levied by the county, New York State occupancy tax was included as part of the fee that the guest would pay when reserving the room or paying for the room. So that was,
Yes.
the guest paid that, not the hotel itself.
Okay.
I think, Greg, we're talking about the hotel, we're talking about the transfer tax, though.
The transfer tax is paid by the buyer,
We
not
jumped the
by the
buyer.
seller.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I missed-
jumping versus occupancy versus, okay, I didn't
Hotel
realize we
occupancy
moved
is
past
paid
that.
by
Would you be
person
okay?
who's
All
checking.
All the more reason to have a future discussion.
Wait, well, hold on a second. Would you consider, listen, we've spent a lot of money in the last years building our infrastructure and everything, right? The residents have already paid for it. The people moving to the town haven't paid for it. So I would consider it,
Consider what portion?
the
hotel?
transfer tax.
What's transfer, see, I wasn't paying
You
attention
guys
right there.
are
You
mixing
you-
the
you
strings
had the
here.
same confusion I just had, so
So-
it's understandable.
Transferring what?
So let's break this down separately, just really quickly, okay?
Yeah.
Mr. Gaba, can you just pull the mic a little closer?
Break this down quickly, just talk about the next meeting if you like. We're going to start with the hotel tax, which
Yeah.
is what John had brought up, I believe. You need, or Brian did, pardon me. You need authorizing legislation from Albany. In
Albany.
order to get that through, you're going to have to adopt a resolution and put in a request. You write to your various representatives, you send them forms, and they will hopefully introduce the authorizing legislation if that's what you want to do. You're going to have to get it done awfully quickly in order to get it considered this year. The other thing is what Ozzy was talking about, which is the conservation fund. I forget exactly the name of it. And it is a transfer tax on sales of real property. The funds are the tax is paid by the buyer, and it goes into a dedicated fund for the town to acquire open space and other environmentally sensitive land to hold for the public. So you have in the past gotten approval, you've gotten authorizing legislation for that. You can enact that local law now if you want to.
When was that passed?
2007?
Yeah, it was
Long- that
before
long
I
ago?
got here.
Well, during 2007, we had the economic crisis, there was a political
Right.
intrigue, so it's got,
Well, I mean, that's worth discussing.
so.
If it doesn't punish people.
can
I want
you-
that room tax.
Can you just do a discussion item for both, the pros and cons, for the next meeting?
Sure, the hotel tax I can have for the next meeting. The other one I may need to the first meeting in February.
Well, the hotel tax is the more urgent time-wise.
Guys,
It
I'm
is.
not,
It's
I'm not
really
I'm not for
simple to
hotel
enforce
tax. That hurts commercial stuff, so I'm.
It doesn't hurt
Well, that's
commercial
also
anything.
paid by the guest, though, Ozzy. It's not paid by the hotel.
Guys,
Paid by the out-of-towners.
listen to me.
Right.
I'm gonna be a no on it, so.
That's fine.
There's other people here, that's up to you guys.
John, you want to work on that one with me?
Yeah, and Brian,
Cool.
Well, there's only two of us, or
are
it's
we
a-
done?
No, we're not done. Okay. You guys done with your new business stuff?
I'm done.
All right.
Notice I have my hat on.
Well, we got an executive session. It could be quick or short. Today, we had a water main break. On December 30th, Camel Pollution Control received a call from a resident at 207 High Street that he was having water bubbling up in his yard. On December 31st, using our leak detection system, all indications that there was a leak at the water main near their service line for this house. Due to the holidays and non-critical nature of the leak, we elected to wait till after New Year's to facilitate the repair. On January 2nd, we excavated the road and water main in the proximity of the homeowner's service line. There was also water service to an old structure on prison property. Upon further investigation, the leak was coming from an old structure. With the assistance of the prison management department, it was determined that the old structure at one time was used for administrative purposes. The heat stopped working in the building, the water pipes froze, and with the recent warm weather, it thawed and began leaking at a high volume throughout the house. We have informed the prison personnel that we're going to leave the water off until they can put heat in the building, fix the leak, and verify they have a working meter. Additionally, we have tabulated the cost for the repair and restoration of the road for possible back billing by New York State. So Carmine was also out there digging up the road. Prison made the mistake, they're not in the water district. Can we make them pay for this, the state?
If the reason for the pipe bursting can be shown to have been the freezing of the pipes because the state turned off the heat, yeah, absolutely. Now, you may have to go through filing a notice of claim against the state. Maybe you can have, an adjustment of the claim through the Attorney General's office or something like that without that. But my suspicion is you're going to have to file the notice of claim and the state will pass it on to.
Is that about $6,000?
Yeah, how much would it cost to do that out of the taxpayers' dollars?
Just to file the claim or to negotiate the settlement?
Okay, can we let Mr. Gaba deal with this, guys?
Sure.
Hand that over to him.
So the issue is also, as I know, the resident, and he and I were texting during that, and he had nothing but praise for the town of Fishkill and Camo for taking care of him. He is a local pastor with not a lot of money, and he was very happy that
It wasn't him.
it wasn't him to pay for it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Pastor. All right, next town board meeting is January 15th. We are going to go into executive session. It's about a personnel matter. If we've taken action, do we have to come back out and explain it?
Depends on what the action is.
Okay, so we don't know. We have to vote on something.
Well, is it going to cost money?
Everything costs money, Mr. Gallo.
Then you should come back out and vote on it in public.
Vote on the resolution in public.
Yeah, that's what you should do.
So-
I
so
mean,
we-
there are
we-
some things you can
I'm
vote
gonna
on
make
in
you stick
closed
around.
session, but
So we don't vote on anything in executive session, right?
there are some
I've never,
things
I've never done this
you
before,
can't
so it's
vote
a
on in
request.
closed session. You have to keep minutes of the discussion and the vote. But you can't do it for some things. Usually, they involve expenditures of funds. Like, you can't enter into a contract in
Okay.
closed session. You have to come back out.
let's go into it.
If there were certain personnel decisions, whether they be disciplinary or other
It's
things
gonna
like
be-
that.
it's
Those
gonna
are
those
the type of
appropriate?
things that you often do decide in closed session. If you decide them in open session, you usually just use the employee's number and you delete.
Okay,
you know,
good
their
enough.
personal information.
We may come back, I don't know. I'll make a motion to leave the
Second.
regular course of business.
What is the technical legal language we need for the personnel discussion?
To discuss the financial, employment, information, history of a particular individual employed by the town.
Okay, I make a
for
motion.
that reason.
All right. So I make a motion to leave the regular course of business and go into executive session. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So 9:32, you taking notes?
Yep.
All right,
Can we get a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, yeah.
Bye.
Guys,
Thank you.
people were thinking we're going to be at 12 o'clock.
Mr. Gabo, excuse me, you said that if they're going to vote on